Chapter 1932. Date, October 20th, Chapter 1944, can't remember. Oh, I'll tell you guys if I want to. Please keep that in mind. Lenny nodded. Alright, let's not talk about that, let's talk about Falbert. Right, Lenny, you know about Falbert's background, right? What's going on? Can you tell me and Shu about it? Meng Yao was afraid that Lenny would start asking questions again, and so she quickly changed the topic back to Falbert. She was also very curious as to what happened between Falbert and Grandma Sunday. Lenny obviously knew about it from his expression at the dinner table. All right. Lenny didn't have anything to do anymore while Falbert talked to Grandma Sun. Lenny told Meng Yao and Yushu about Falbert's family. The Miss face was a little sad when Lenny was done, and Shu was silent as well. The two were evidently affected by Falbert's tragedy. Lenny didn't interrupt them, and Lenny felt the same sadness when he heard Falbert's story. After a while, Meng Yao spoke up. I knew that Falbert had a sad past, but I didn't know it was this bad. Yeah, I didn't think that Falbert's daughter, and his Shifu. Yushu was showing her true self now. Luckily, he found Grandma Sun. That's a blessing in disguise. Yeah, as long as they can be together, they can spend the rest of their lives peacefully. Meng Yao nodded. But I don't know how Grandma Sun lost her memories, and if she can recover them? Yushu said. Meng Yao was so pissed that she wanted to kick Yushu's chubby boobs to death. What the hell was this about amnesia again? Lenny, your medical skills are superb. Do you have a way? Meng Yao changed the topic to Lin Yi's medical skills, not giving Lenny much time to think. I'll give it a try. Lenny couldn't guarantee anything. He would check it later. Not long after Lenny finished speaking, Falbert and Grandma Sun pushed open the door and walked out. Lenny saw that although Falbert's face was filled with relief, there was also some distress. Grandma Sun's face seemed to be filled with sadness and confusion. Falbert, how is it? Meng Yao asked. I told her everything, but she couldn't remember anything. Falbert smiled bitterly. I'm not sure if I'm Mr. Li Fu's wife, because I really don't remember anything. Grandma Sun said painfully. I can't remember anything, I have no memory at all, but I know that you guys wouldn't lie to me. Right, Falbert, when you and Grandma Sun got married, didn't you have a marriage certificate? Lenny suddenly asked. This was the most important piece of evidence. Although these willing people didn't really care about the rules of the common world, it was still possible for them to go through the motions. Yes, but we didn't even have time to save our lives when the whole family was annihilated. Where would we get the chance to take those things out? Falbert smiled bitterly. My identity as Li Fu was also registered by Mr. Chu. But there should be a record in the civil office, right? Wouldn't we know when we check? Lenny said. If it's registered in another province, I can ask Huaijuan or Lingshan to do it. It should be easier for them. That's right. Falbert's eyes lit up. Luowe, when we got married, we took a picture too. There must be a record. We'll know when we check. Yeah. Grandma Sun believed Falbert's words, but she didn't mind confirming it if there was evidence. Lenny didn't waste any time, calling Huaijuan's number and telling him about the situation. Huaijuan agreed without hesitation, since it was a piece of cake for him to investigate a marriage registration. Not long after, Huaijuan sent an email to Lin Yi's phone. It was the record of Sun Luowe and Shi's marriage. One had to admit that Huaijuan was very efficient. It was already time to get off work, but Huaijuan still got the record in a short amount of time. He passed the phone to Falbert and Grandma Sunday. Lenny said, It's here. Now, Grandma Sun, do you believe me? It's really like this. Grandma Sun looked at the record on the phone. A complicated expression appeared on her face. After all, what Falbert said was very sad, but Grandma Sun didn't have any memories of it. But now that her identity was confirmed, Grandma Sun's heart felt empty. Although she found her husband, her daughter and her husband's master were probably gone. This difference between happiness and sadness made her silent again. Grandma Sun, the dead are long gone. It's been so long, don't think about it. Now that we found Falbert again, isn't it a blessing in disguise? If it wasn't for fate, we might not have met again. Linny said. Yeah. Grandma's son nodded and sighed. She felt a little better. So, I was a practitioner, and a member of the noble house, son. Of course. Falbert nodded. But now Grandma's son's eyes showed a trace of confusion again. This feeling of not remembering anything was very depressing. She tried her best to remember the past. If she could remember the past, then she might know some things that Falbert didn't know, and that was the whereabouts of her daughter and master. If she didn't know these things, then it would be fine. But since she knew, Grandma's son was naturally very eager to know the answer. She frowned, as if she was trying hard to remember something, but to no avail. No, I still can't remember. I don't remember anything. There are some vague impressions, but I don't know what they are. Grandma's son, are you remembering? Linny asked. Yes, if you can remember what happened in the past, maybe you will have some clues about your daughter and master. You can also know a little about your enemy. Grandma's son nodded and said, Grandma's son, let me help you check it. Linny didn't know what Grandma's son meant. Although he wanted to help, if Grandma's son didn't want to remember the tragic past, then Linny wouldn't interfere. That was because it was not a happy thing for anyone. It would only make them more depressed and sorrowful. But Grandma's son clearly wanted to remember what happened in the past and find some clues, so Linny naturally had to find a way to help. Oh, target equals _blank. Chapter 1933. Date, October 20th. Chapter 1945, The Cause of Amnesia, Part 1. Right, Linny, you're a miracle doctor! Falbert was happy when he heard that Linny wanted to help. Yes, Mr. Lin is a miracle doctor. I had a stroke with crooked mouth and eyes and rheumatism on my leg, but miracle Dr. Lin cured me instantly. Grandma's son was full of confidence when she remembered that Linny also cured her illness. Heh! I can only check whether it can be cured or not. I'll try my best. When Linny cured Grandma's son's crooked mouth and leg, he didn't check on Grandma's son's other physical conditions. After all, time was limited and Linny's goal was to cure Grandma's son's crooked mouth and leg and then frame Jun. Okay, what do you need me to do? Grandma's son asked quickly. Grandma's son, just sit on the sofa and stretch out your hands, I'll check your pulse. Linny could use his pure energy to check other people's body condition, so Grandma's son didn't need to do anything. Just relax. Okay. Grandma's son nodded and sat next to Linny on the sofa and stretched out her hands. Linny grabbed Grandma's son's meridians and started to check her body condition with his pure energy. However, as soon as he started, his pure energy was blocked. Linny found that most of Grandma's son's meridians were destroyed and the rest were blocked by blood clots. Although it wasn't as serious as Yang Huaijuan, it was impossible for her to become a practitioner and practice pure energy. This situation was very similar to Falbert's. Falbert's meridians were also destroyed and he couldn't practice spiritual arts. It was the same for Grandma's Sunday. In that case, Grandma's son's crooked mouth and lame leg should not have been caused by a stroke or rheumatism, but by the blockage of her meridians. Although the two were blocked meridians, and the treatment was relatively similar, the cause of the formation was completely different. Linny didn't look at it carefully at the time, so he only cured Grandma's son's crooked mouth and leg. He thought it was caused by a stroke, but now it seemed that it wasn't. However, this was not a problem for Linny. Linny said to Falbert, Falbert, my silver needles are in my backpack at school. Go out and find a pharmacy to help me buy another box. Linny could use his true qi to repair the broken meridians, but for the blood clots that had accumulated for many years, he would have to use silver needles to remove them. Because the blood clots were already necrotic, it was impossible to use true qi to remove them. Okay, I'll go now. Falbert quickly stood up and quickly ran out of the villa to buy silver needles. As for Linny, he began to use his true qi to repair Grandma's son's damaged meridians. Linny was very familiar with repairing meridians. Grandma's son didn't know how Linny treated her, but she felt a warm and comfortable feeling throughout her body, as if her whole body was restored to life. Even Ming Yao and Yushu noticed the changes in Grandma Sun, because Grandma Sun's face was changing at a speed visible to the naked eye. The wrinkles from before were gone, and what replaced it was a smooth face. Grandma Sun seemed to be a few years younger in just a short period of time. Regarding this change, Lin Yi didn't find it strange. Grandma Sun's meridians were blocked, and naturally it had a serious impact on the metabolism of the human body. After repairing, it was normal for her to look radiant, just like when Falbert's meridians were repaired by Lin Yi. He also seemed to be a few years younger. It was just helping Grandma Sun to repair her meridians, not increasing her strength, so Lin Yi was very familiar with it. Now that Lin Yi had practiced the second stage of the art of dragon mastery, it was a piece of cake for him to practice the first stage of the art of dragon mastery. His speed was also a lot faster than before, so very quickly, Grandma Sun's damaged meridians were repaired by Lin Yi. Of course, Lin Yi didn't touch Grandma Sun's head yet. From Lin Yi's point of view, since Grandma Sun had lost her memory, then her head must have suffered some degree of injury, and the structure of the head was one of the most complicated parts of the human body, so Lin Yi had to wait for Falbert to buy the silver needles before he went to check and treat her. Very quickly, Falbert ran back. He didn't drive, he ran completely on foot. Although the pharmacy wasn't too far from the district, it was still 2 kilometers from the villa area. Plus, Falbert wasn't familiar with the road. To be able to come back in such a short time, it was obvious that he ran like crazy. He was very concerned about Grandma Sun's condition. Seeing Falbert sweating, Grandma Sun felt a burst of warmth in her heart. This man, it seemed like he loved her very much. Otherwise, as a practitioner, no matter how fast he ran, he wouldn't sweat so much. This sweat was obviously from anxiety. "Little E, I don't have any silver needles. These are ordinary silver-coated needles. Do you think they'll work?" Falbert took out a set of silver needles and placed it on the coffee table in front of Lin Yi and said, "If it doesn't work, I'll drive to a big pharmacy to buy more." Nowadays, there were fewer and fewer people who bought this kind of acupuncture equipment. The price of silver needles was very expensive, normal pharmacies wouldn't buy them. Silver-coated needles were already very good, but in Lin Yi's eyes, this thing was just a tool. The key was the use of qi, so the material didn't matter. "Okay, I'll take this." Lin Yi nodded, opened the needle box, took out a few silver needles, and casually inserted them into Grandma Sun's body. But everyone present knew that it wasn't casual. But Lin Yi's technique was too brilliant, it had reached the level of flowing water. With the improvement of his strength, the use of silver needles with qi, Lin Yi didn't have the initial feeling of difficulty. When he was treating Lu Junhu, Lin Yi would be very tired after a set of acupuncture, but now, that feeling didn't exist anymore. "Grandma Sun, don't think about anything now, I'll help you check the injury on your head," Lin Yi said. "Okay." Grandma Sun quickly closed her eyes, not daring to think about anything else. And Lin Yi began to use qi to carefully check the condition of Grandma Sun's head, but as he probed deeper, Lin Yi let out a surprised cry. "Huh!" Hearing Lin Yi's exclamation, Falbert's face was slightly surprised, but he didn't dare to ask anything. He didn't know what happened to Lin Yi, so he could only carefully guard the side, waiting for Lin Yi's orders. The condition of Grandma Sun's head made Lin Yi feel very strange. It can be said that Grandma Sun's head was not injured. It was not like what Lin Yi thought. There was a blood clot pressing on the nerves or blocking the meridians, causing amnesia. Target equals _blank. Chapter 1934. Date: October 20th, Chapter 1946. The cause of amnesia, Part 2. Instead, in Grandma Sun's head, there was a strange ball of qi that was wrapping around a part of Grandma Sun's brain. This was the first time Lin Yi had seen something like this. Could it be that the qi had affected Grandma Sun's memory? However, under Lin Yi's investigation, although the qi was strange, it didn't seem to have any evil intentions. It didn't seem like it was purposely set up by a master, but it seemed to have naturally appeared. It was very comfortable in Grandma Sun's head, and there wasn't a single trace of repulsion. However, without being completely sure, Lin Yi didn't dare to touch the qi. After all, it was quite difficult for Lin Yi to force the fire qi out of Grandma Sun's head. Using the same method to force the qi out of Grandma Sun's head would be quite difficult. Moreover, the qi wasn't in Lin Yi's body, it was in Grandma Sun's body. This could lead to unpredictable dangers. Grandma Sun, there is a ball of qi in your head. It seems that it is wrapping around a part of your memory, but this situation is very strange. This is the first time I've seen something like this, so I need to think about it and do some research. Lin Yi said. I'll clear the blood in your body today. Okay. Grandma Sun agreed without hesitation. On the other hand, Falbert's face turned pale. He knew Lin Yi's methods. If even Lin Yi said it was difficult, then it must be very difficult. However, Falbert didn't say much. He could only hope that Lin Yi could find a good way. Clearing the blood in Grandma Sun's body was much easier. After Lin Yi finished the acupuncture, he began to infuse qi into the needles to break the blood in Grandma Sun's meridians. This way, the blood could flow out through the needles. Sure enough, after half an hour, every needle on Grandma Sun's body was wrapped in a layer of black substance. It was obviously the poison in her body. Even though Falbert and Grandma Sun knew that Lin Yi was a miracle doctor, they were amazed by the situation. Silver needle detoxification. Shield bro is amazing. Yushu looked at the filth on the needle curiously. Shield bro, do I have some kind of poison in my body? Like fire poison? Maybe you can help me purge it? Shoo, don't mess around. Don't disturb Lin Yi. Mengyao was worried that Yushu would disturb Lin Yi. Don't worry, it's over. Lin Yi pinched the last needle and released it. He smiled at Xiao Shu. You're not sick, why are you queuing? Oh, just in case. Shield bro, can you help her check again? You can take off her clothes, Yushu said. Mengyao was speechless. Why did you have to come up with so many excuses if you wanted to take off your clothes for Lin Yi? Check my body? You don't have to take off your clothes. Just stretch out your hand and let me see. Lin Yi had no choice but to say. Okay. Okay. Yushu stretched out her hand. Lin Yi checked Yushu's pulse and shook his head. Shu, you are very healthy. You're not sick at all. I see, I don't need to purge the poison, Yushu said disappointedly. Ha! No need. Lin Yi checked Yushu and turned to look at the silver needles on Grandma Sunday. He felt that it was about time. Lin Yi quickly put away the needles and said, Grandma Sun, you can take a shower. You should be covered in filth. Ah, okay. Grandma Sun also felt that her body was sticky and uncomfortable, so she quickly nodded. I'll help you rub, Falbert said subconsciously. This? Grandma Sun's face immediately turned red. Although she already knew that Uncle Fu was her husband, she still couldn't accept it for a while. Sorry, I didn't mean anything else. Falbert also realized that he was a little impatient. He really wanted to help. He didn't have any other thoughts. Grandma Sun didn't say anything. She quickly went back to her room to take a shower. Thank you so much, Uncle Fu said from the bottom of his heart. Falbert, we're family. But I still don't know what's going on with the qi in Grandma Sun's head. I'll go back to my room and ask. Lin Yi said he wanted to ask Jiao Yazi. However, he couldn't just expose the secret. He couldn't just sit on the sofa for a while without making a phone call. Okay. Go and ask, Falbert said quickly. After saying it, he felt that he was too anxious. He suddenly felt a little embarrassed. I'm a little too anxious, it's nothing. I'll go and call now. Lin Yi smiled. He understood Falbert's feelings. Back in the room, Lin Yi didn't delay. He went directly into the jade space and said to Jiao Yazi, Jiao Lao, I encountered a strange phenomenon today. Lin Yi told Jiao Yazi about Grandma Sun's situation. Oh? There's qi in her mind, but this qi doesn't have any evil intentions? And she lost her memory? After listening to Lin Yi's words, Jiao Yazi repeated Lin Yi's words. Then he said, Your situation, although I haven't encountered it before, I can make some guesses. What guess? Lin Yi asked quickly. As you said, she was a cultivator before she was injured and lost her memory. Then, that chi is very likely to be produced by her, Jiao Yazi said. Produced by herself? What does that mean? That is to say, Grandma's son lost her memory? Linny asked curiously. You can say that, Jiao Yazi said. This is a cultivator's instinct. Under certain circumstances, the body's potential is stimulated and the memory in the mind is wrapped with qi. Wrapping memory with qi? Why would she do that? Linny was even more puzzled. There are two possibilities. The first is that when she encounters some kind of danger, and her life is in danger, there is a piece of memory that she is reluctant to part with before she dies. This piece of memory will be wrapped by the true qi that stimulates her body's potential. This is the so-called magical reincarnation with memories. In my memory, a friend of mine who is a science geek once did research on reincarnation. This situation does not necessarily apply to cultivators. Even ordinary people may stimulate their potential at the last moment of their lives and wrap their precious memories in the stimulated true qi. Then, after they die, this set of memories wrapped in true qi will exist in the form of free electric waves. Target equals _blank. Chapter 1935. Date, October 20th. Chap. 1947 is thoughtful. If someone's brainwave vibration frequency is similar to the vibration frequency of this memory, then it is possible that this brainwave will be attached to this person. This is also when some people suddenly discover that they have a lot of knowledge that they didn't know before, or the brainwave of this memory is strong enough to replace the original owner's thoughts. This is the legendary possession. Of course, this brainwave can also travel back to the past or to another world. This is the so-called rebirth and transmigration, Jiao Yazi said. 7 by 24 hours of continuous updates of pure TXT handwritten novels. Elder Jiao, I don't want to transmigrate yet, and I don't want to be reborn. Can you talk about the second possibility first? Linny smiled bitterly. There really were scientists who wanted to research reincarnation? Then this scientist must be a great person. Haha, I'm just saying. It's impossible for you to transmigrate and be reborn. Do you think it's that easy? Even my scientist friend hasn't found a specific method to do it. Jiao Lao shook his head and said, The second possibility I'm talking about is that her family was destroyed. This is a sad past. She couldn't believe what happened in front of her, and she didn't want to believe it. So she wrapped this sad memory with her Jinqi, causing her to lose her memory. Obviously, this is the second possibility, Jiao Yazi said. And this possibility is quite common. It's not just her, other ordinary people will also have similar situations. This is commonly known as memory sealing. It's a person forcing themselves to forget a certain part of their memory. So, in other words, the Jinqi in Grandma's son's head was produced by her? Linny asked. 7 by 24 hours of continuous updates of pure TXT handwritten novels. I'm not sure about this, but since your art of dragon mastery can convert Jinqi into universal Jinqi, you just need to let her produce a bit of Jinqi and compare it with the Jinqi in her head, Jiao Yazi said. The key is that she lost her memory. She doesn't remember practicing at all. Although her meridians are repaired, she doesn't remember the mantra. It's impossible for me to help her recover her strength. Linny smiled bitterly. I see. Then there's nothing I can do. Ask Li Fu if he knows, or if anyone else knows. Jiao Yazi shook his head and said helplessly. Okay, I'll go ask. Linny nodded and walked out of the jade space, quickly returning to the living room. How is it? Falbert saw that Linny came out so quickly and his heart sank. Was there no news? I asked. It might be like this. As he spoke, Linny told Falbert about the second possibility that Jiao Yazi had mentioned. It seemed that this possibility was more likely. Oh? So you mean that Luoyin sealed her memory? Falbert was surprised. Then, as long as we remove the Jinqi from her head, we can recover her memory? In theory, yes, but we're not sure if the Jinqi in Grandma's son's head was generated by herself. Although it doesn't seem to have any bad intentions, there's always a chance. If something happens when we remove the Jinqi, the consequences will be unimaginable. Linny smiled bitterly. If there really was a problem with the Jinqi, it could even explode. If Grandma Sun's head exploded, even if Linny was the reincarnation of Zhang Liju, he wouldn't be able to do anything. How do we determine it? Uncle Fu was startled and asked in a somewhat puzzled manner. Grandma Sun's practitioner's mantra, do you have it? If you do, you can try to let her practice it again. If the Jinqi is the same as the one in her head, then I can confirm it. We can try to guide her to remove it, or when she reaches a certain level, she can refine the Jinqi on her own. Linny said. Practitioner's mantra. Falbert smiled bitterly and said helplessly, I did have it before, but I didn't bring it with me when I left. Normal people can't practice House Sun's mantra, so I didn't purposely memorize it. House Sun? Does that mean that the practitioner's arts are the same as Grandma Sun's? Lin Yi's eyes suddenly lit up and asked. Yes, you mean. Falbert could more or less guess what Linny meant. Sun Jingi. Linny nodded and said, She also practices House Sun's mantra. I just need to ask her for the mantra. Well, there's no need to go through so much trouble. I'll just check what her Jinqi is like. That's great. Falbert heard that he found a way and was very happy, but his face suddenly tightened and said, Oh right, little E, don't tell anyone from House Sun that you found Sun Luowe. Oh? Linny was slightly stunned, but he quickly figured out Falbert's concerns. Falbert, you're afraid that your enemies will get the news and come looking for you. That's right. Falbert nodded and said, Some things have to be guarded against. Although House Sun won't harm Luowe, if the news is leaked, it won't be worth it. Okay, I won't say it, Linny said. While they were talking, Grandma Sun had finished her bath and walked out of the room. But at this moment, Grandma Sun's skin, temperament, and appearance all had a qualitative change. Grandma Sun's skin became fairer and more lustrous. The wrinkles on her face disappeared. If she was an old woman before, now she was a beautiful young woman. This change made Falbert surprised and happy. Although he wouldn't mind what Grandma Sun looked like, who didn't want their wife to be prettier? Falbert knew that this was all thanks to Lin Yi. Grandma Sun was also a practitioner, so after her meridians were opened, she would naturally look younger. This was a very normal thing. That's amazing, Yushu said in surprise. I didn't expect Grandma Sun to be such a beauty. I can't call her Grandma Sun anymore. I have to call her Aunt Sun. Grandma Sun obviously noticed the changes in herself. She was surprised and happy. Before, although Falbert showed his love, Grandma Sun felt that she was too old compared to him. But after Lin Yi treated her, her body changed drastically. You can call me whatever you want. I'm already used to it. Grandma Sun smiled and said, I didn't expect Mr. Lin to be so powerful. Lin Yi, can practitioners not age? Mengyao asked thoughtfully. Xiashu. Target equals. _blank. Chapter 1936. Date, October 20th, Chapter 1948, Speechless. Not bad, Golden Class Masters can extend their lifespan, Mystic Class Masters can slow down the aging process, Earth Class Masters can slow down the aging process, and Sky Class Masters can maintain their youthful appearance forever. Linny said. The moment you break through to Sky Class, your appearance will never change again. What happens after Sky Class? Yushu suddenly asked. Please remember. I don't know. Linny shook his head. Mengyao nodded thoughtfully. So, Tang Yun and Xiao Xiao wouldn't age at all? Mengyao looked at Lin Yi and suddenly had the urge to become a practitioner. She wanted to become a Sky Class Master too. But she also knew that some things could only be found by chance. It wasn't something she could get just because she wanted to, otherwise everyone would be a practitioner. Let's stop here for today's treatment. Tomorrow I'll contact Sun Jinyi and check on her qi, then check on Grandma Sun's qi. Linny said. Falbert, it's getting late, you and Grandma Sun should rest early too. Mengyao and Yushu went upstairs, and Linny went back to his room, leaving only Falbert and Grandma's son in the living room. Falbert felt a little awkward. I'll stay in the guest room. No need, since we are husband and wife, let's stay together. You can also tell me about the past. Grandma's son hesitated and said shyly, Okay. Falbert wasn't in a hurry to do anything, but he was very excited about Grandma's son's acceptance. He quickly nodded happily. Seeing Falbert act like a child, Grandma's son shook her head helplessly, but at the same time, she felt warm in her heart. The next morning, Falbert and Grandma's son woke up early with a light smile on their faces. Although Grandma's son hadn't recovered her memories yet, it was obvious that she had accepted Falbert. HNHNNT // the two were busy preparing breakfast in the kitchen, and Lin Yi, Meng Yao, and Yushu smiled as they watched them. Falbert is so happy, it's the first time I've seen him so happy. Yushu's impression of Li Fu was that he was a serious man, not a single hair out of place. Even when he'd been staying in the villa and preparing breakfast for them in the mornings, he never looked this serious. He never smiled like this before. Uncle Fu found his wife, but where's my mom? Ming Yao's eyes were filled with a sense of loss and loss. Yao, does Uncle Chu not know about your mom? Lin Yi asked. Daddy. He knows, but he won't tell me. He said I'm still young, some things are better left unknown. Meng Yao shook her head. Lin Yi paused. Could there be some sort of secret behind all this? But since Pingzhan didn't want to talk about it, he didn't say much. Every family had their own, maybe something unexpected happened. After breakfast, Lin Yi, Meng Yao, and Yushu left the villa, ready to drive to school. Coincidentally, the siblings from the villa next door came out as well, obviously going to school as well. What a coincidence, you guys are going to school too. Han Jingjing greeted Lin Yi and the others. Yeah, you guys are going too? Lin Yi nodded. Lin Yi was very indifferent to people he wasn't familiar with, especially when Han Jingjing's background made Lin Yi suspicious, so naturally, he didn't have a good tone. I see, why don't we get a ride with you guys? Han Jingjing suddenly said. My brother and I don't know where the buildings for economics and biology are. You guys are from those two departments. Sure, let's go together then. Meng Yao answered before Lin Yi could even reply. As far as she was concerned, they were neighbors and classmates, and they were in the same profession. It was only natural for her to help out if she could. It wasn't a big deal. Lin Yi didn't want to be too close to them, and wanted them to follow behind, but Lin Yi couldn't say anything since the miss had already agreed. Thank you so much! Han Jingjing and her brother got in the car and sat in the back with Meng Yao, while Yushu sat in the front passenger seat. Lin Yi started the car and drove to school. It wasn't far from here, so they arrived in no time. After getting out of the car, Meng Yao and Yushu brought Han Jingjing's brother to the economics department, leaving Lin Yi and Han Jingjing alone. Lin Yi locked the car and walked to the biology department without a word. Wait for me! Han Jingjing saw that Lin Yi was walking very fast, and only caught up after 2 steps. Can you introduce me to the medicine department? There's nothing much to introduce. You don't know what you're applying for? Lin Yi said faintly. Han Jingjing pouted, feeling wronged. It's just a hobby of mine, but what rules are there? How many people are in the class? I don't even know that. Oh, there's a student rule in there after you get the textbook. You'll know the rules once you read it. As for how many people are in the class, you'll know. Lin Yi said. Han Jingjing wasn't expecting Lin Yi to brush her off like this. She pouted and followed behind Lin Yi, not too happy. Lin Yi was a little surprised at Han Jingjing's aggrieved face. Could it really be a coincidence? Judging from Han Jingjing's expression, a girl who showed her emotions on her face shouldn't have too many tricks up her sleeves. Was he thinking too much? But they hadn't walked far when Lin Yi heard Han Jingjing mumbling behind him. Ignore me, I'll kick you to death, I'll kick. Lin Yi was sweating. Wasn't this girl's temper a little too bad? She'd kick him to death if he ignored her, and Lin Yi didn't even get to hear more before he heard a scream. He turned to see Han Jingjing kicking a wooden stump, not expecting it to be so sturdy. Han Jingjing lost her balance and fell backwards, hitting her head on the ground with a thud. Lin Yi's eyes widened in shock. This girl. Wasn't she a little too fierce? Falling backwards after kicking a wooden stump? Are you all right? Lin Yi walked over helplessly and asked, but he saw Han Jingjing biting her lip. Tears were swirling in her eyes as if they were about to flow out, and her hand was covering the back of her head. She was as pitiful as she could be. I don't need you to care about me even if I'm dead. Woo-woo! Han Jingjing suddenly cried, making Lin Yi speechless for a while. Did she change her face just like that? She wanted to kick me to death just now, and now she doesn't need to care? Target equals _blank. Chapter 1937. However, Lin Yi was someone who could be persuaded but not cowed. Seeing Han Jingjing crying on the ground, he couldn't bear to see her like that. Before, Lin Yi had categorized her as one of the suspects, so Lin Yi didn't want to interact with her too much. But now, it seemed that things were different. This Han Jingjing didn't seem to have any ulterior motives. On the contrary, her brain seemed to be missing a cord. All right, stop crying. Let me see how your head is. Lin Yi bent down and carefully moved Han Jingjing's hand away. He saw that the back of Han Jingjing's head was already swollen. He thought to himself, thank goodness this girl is young. If she was older, wouldn't she have a cerebral hemorrhage? What? It hurts. Han Jingjing's face was wet with tears. She was as miserable as she could be. At this time, many students looked over. After all, they were very curious. What was a girl crying on the ground for? There were also some students who didn't know and had a lot of imagination. They started to think and scold Lin Yi. See that? This guy must have cheated on her and got found out by his girlfriend. Look at how pitiful his girlfriend is. This guy's eyes are really all the way to the soles of his shoes. Such a beautiful girlfriend, I'll definitely treasure her and worship her. Look at how he made her cry. Another guy said with righteous indignation. Although Lin Yi was far away, he was still in Earth class. His eyes and ears were naturally better than normal people. He heard the conversation clearly and was speechless. Lin Yi had to admit that Han Jingjing was a beauty. Her round face and big eyes made her look like a porcelain doll. This kind of beauty wasn't like the Miss Classic beauty, nor was it like Yushu's pure and playful beauty. It was more like a little Lolita's. Especially now, when she was crying pitifully, it made people feel sympathetic. Therefore, the comments on this side were almost one-sided in favor of Han Jingjing, and Lin Yi became the heartless villain. Although Lin Yi didn't care about all this, it would be troublesome if his nonsense reached the Miss ears. Lin Yi had no choice but to deal with it quickly. He reached out and touched the big bump on Han Jingjing's head, quickly channeling the art of dragon mastery to heal it. All right, stand up, let's go, Lin Yi said after curing Han Jingjing. Eh? It doesn't hurt anymore? Han Jingjing touched the back of her head and realized that the bulge was gone. She looked at Lin Yi in surprise and said, Wow, you're amazing. How did you do it? Can you teach me? Lin Yi frowned. Only now did he realize that he was a little reckless in a moment of desperation. He used pure energy to treat a neighbor he just met, and this neighbor was a curious baby, seemingly wanting to get to the bottom of it. We'll talk about it later. Let's go to the classroom now, there are people watching, Lin Yi said. Oh, okay. Han Jingjing patted the dust on her pants and followed Lin Yi happily. What's going on? Han Jingjing had been crying nonstop a moment ago, but now she was smiling all of a sudden, leaving with Lin Yi as if nothing had happened. The onlookers didn't know what was going on. I know, that girl must have asked for something too much with her boyfriend. The boyfriend didn't agree, so she cried, and then when the boyfriend agreed, she smiled, a bystander said. That seems to be the case. Could it be that she wanted to buy some cosmetics or clothes, and the boyfriend didn't buy it for her? Another bystander nodded. It's very likely. Another person also echoed, but no matter what, the people involved had left, and they also dispersed. Now that it was class time, it was okay to watch the fun, but it was not worth the loss if they delayed the class. Linny, how old are you? When were you born? Why are you so powerful? Han Jingjing asked like a curious baby. I don't know, said Linny. He was also telling the truth. How would Linny know when he was born? Would orphans know? How is it possible? You are lying, said Han Jingjing. I'm not lying. I'm an orphan. Linny was afraid that she would cry again, so he answered. Han Jingjing was stunned. She didn't expect Linny to answer like this. She was a little silent. After a long time, she said, Sorry, I don't know. Then, since you are older than me, I will call you Brother Linny. It's nothing. I'm used to it, Linny said faintly. We are classmates. If you call me brother, what will others think? Why do you care about others? Han Jingjing asked with some doubts. Why? Linny was stunned. He didn't know how to answer Han Jingjing's words. Yeah, why? Asked Han Jingjing. Nothing. Do whatever you want. Linny shook his head. This Han Jingjing's IQ seems to be a little lacking. Could it be that she became stupid from the fall just now? Oh, okay. Han Jingjing nodded happily. From now on, you're my big bro Linny. You have to teach me that miraculous healing skill. That? You can't learn it. Linny smiled bitterly. Why can't I learn it? Han Jingjing looked at him curiously. Because. Linny didn't know what to say. Why do you have so many whys? Why don't you go see 100,000 whys? What's 100,000 whys? Han Jingjing asked curiously. Defeated by you. Linny was speechless. How did you live this long? To live with my younger brother. Han Jingjing said seriously. Linny pointed at the classroom in front of him. We're here. This is the medicine faculty. Thank you. Can I go to and from school with Linny big bro every day? Han Jingjing asked happily. We'll talk about it later. Linny wanted to get rid of this 100,000 wise girl. Why did she have so much to say? Why didn't he see it before? If he knew she was so troublesome, he would have rejected her when she asked to be in the same car this morning. Linny walked into the classroom and saw that the seats were the same as before. Xinyan was still sitting in the same seat. Linny walked over and sat beside her. Han Jingjing, on the other hand, followed Linny to Linny's side. Han Jingjing's appearance attracted the attention of the students in the class. Xinyan was also a beauty in the school, but she was taken as soon as she arrived. The boys didn't have any ideas about her. Target equals _blank. Chapter 1938. But Han Jingjing was different. A beauty like her attracted the attention of all the bachelors. Even Yu Coiling Tiger took a few more glances at her. But Han Jingjing seemed to have come with Linny. Why else would she be standing next to Linny's seat? What else do you want? Linny frowned as he looked at Han Jingjing. Where should I sit? Han Jingjing asked. Anywhere you want. Aren't there a lot of empty seats here? Linny pointed at the empty seats around him. Then can I sit next to you, big brother Linny? Han Jingjing looked at Linny with a pitiful look. There's no space next to me. Can you sit in the aisle? Linny rejected Han Jingjing's request immediately. He wouldn't be able to go to class if he agreed to it. Linny wouldn't be able to do anything else either. Let this big sister sit there, and you sit in the middle. Wouldn't I be able to sit next to you then? Han Jingjing's logic wasn't wrong. No. Linny didn't wait for Xinyan to say anything. Han Jingjing still wanted to say something, but Boss Bai walked into the classroom with a textbook in his hand. Han Jingjing had no choice but to find a random seat and sit down, a little depressed. Xinyan looked at Han Jingjing curiously, then at Linny. She wanted to ask something, but didn't want Linny to think that she was being nosy. Han Jingjing's here already? The moment Boss Bai entered the classroom, he saw Han Jingjing. He nodded to her and said, Let me introduce her to you. This is Han Jingjing, the second female student of our medicine major. She was delayed by something before and only came to school today. Something to attend to before? Was she trying to avoid military training? Some of the students in the classroom couldn't help but think of Han Jingjing, a delicate beauty. It wasn't a big deal to run away. Therefore, after Boss Bai's introduction, there was a warm applause in the class. Obviously, these boys expressed their warm welcome to Han Jingjing. Alright, that's all for the introductions. Let's get ready for class. Boss Bai knocked on the podium and said, "Our major is special. Other majors usually don't have specialized courses in the freshman year, but ours is different. We have specialized courses from the freshman year, and they take up a large proportion. Of course, all the professional courses will be taught by me alone." Hearing Boss Bai's words, everyone was not too surprised, because after the military training, the timetable was distributed by Bai Weituo, and everyone knew the curriculum of the first semester of the freshman year. 7 by 24 hours of continuous updates, pure handmade TXT novels. Today was Boss Bai's first class, so he didn't go straight to the main subject. Instead, he talked about what the students in the medical major had to learn in the 4 years of university, what they had to master, and what they would achieve after they graduated from this major. However, to everyone's surprise, many core researchers of large pharmaceutical companies had graduated from Boss Bai's school, which made all the students present feel a sense of respect for Boss Bai. No wonder the seniors and their families insisted that they apply for this school. Most of the students here, except for those who loved medicinal herbs, were from families related to medicine. Their families either owned pharmaceutical factories or pharmaceutical companies, or engaged in the research and development of health products or set up traditional Chinese medicine hospitals. Therefore, they sent the children of their relatives and friends here to study. They wanted to learn some real skills so that they could contribute to their family's business when they went back. "Lin Yi, that Han Jingjing?" Sun Yan couldn't help but ask Lin Yi during the break. "She's my neighbor, she forced me to bring her to class this morning." Lin Yi smiled bitterly. "I think there's something wrong with her IQ, why is she acting so dumb?" "A neighbor." Sun Yan felt a little sour in her heart, something she couldn't quite put her finger on. It was a very strange feeling, one that she'd never felt before. "Yeah." Lin Yi was just about to say something when he saw Han Jingjing walking over. "What do you want this time?" "Big bro Lin Yi, where's the washroom?" I want to go." Han Jingjing blushed. "Can't you go look for it?" Lin Yi's face darkened. Why did this Han Jingjing look like she hadn't seen much of the world? Why didn't she know anything? Judging from her ability to buy a villa, she couldn't be the young miss of some big family, could she? She was the type that had everything at her fingertips. I'm afraid I'll get lost," Han Jingjing said, a little embarrassed. "I'll go with you, I want to go as well," Sun Yan said as she stood up. Han Jingjing's eyes flashed with disappointment, but it was gone in a flash. She nodded to Sun Yan. "All right, thank you, sis." "It's nothing, it's on the way," Sun Yan said as she brought Han Jingjing to the washroom. Sun Yan actually wanted to get to know this new girl as well. They were the only 2 girls in the class, after all, and it'd be more convenient to have a girl with them when there were activities in the future. It'd save the awkward situation of having to change clothes during military training. Sun Yan and Han Jingjing went to the washroom, but Bai Weituo came over. "Big bro Lin, what's up with this Han Jingjing? Don't tell me she's a freshman too?" "It's nothing, I met her on the way to school, she's also a medical major, so I brought her here." Lin Yi didn't mention that he was Han Jingjing's neighborhood. There were too many people around Bai Weituo. What if they all went to his house after he told them? At that time, Miss and Shu would both be at home, and it would be difficult to explain. Therefore, Lin Yi planned to talk to Bai Weituo in private. "Ah? No way, such good luck!" Song Xiaodao said enviously. "Why can't I touch it? Now that I'm single, Lao Bai and Xinji both have their own targets." "Better than yourself?" Lin Yi was stunned and looked at Zhao Xingji. Lin Yi knew that Bai Weituo was pursuing He Meiwei, but he didn't know why Zhao Xingji also had a target. "It's Chai Xiaoling, hee," Zhao Xingji said with a big belly. Lin Yi looked at Zhao Xingji and thought of Chai Xiaoling's petite figure. He felt a chill run down his spine. The 2 of them together were truly a stark contrast. By the way, how's the preparation for the freshman party? Linny asked. There's basically no problem. I've talked to my classmates yesterday. I'm the main singer of our class's choir, Baiwetua said. There's no class this afternoon. Let's start rehearsing. Target equals _blank. Chapter 1939. Date, October 20th, Chapter 1951. What should I do? That's good. Since you agreed to compete with that John Duopan, you have to show your true abilities. If you lose, you won't be able to explain it to Himewa. Linny cared a lot about Baiwetua, but there wasn't much Linny could do to help with the performance. I know, don't worry. That John Duopan clearly doesn't have any artistic cells in him. I'm confident I can beat him, Baiwetua said confidently. But don't underestimate him. That kid is a bit devious, Linny said. He could tell from the incident in the cafeteria that Zhang Duopan was a cunning person. It wasn't long before Sun Yan and Han Jingjing came back from the washroom. The two seemed to have gotten to know each other a little better, but Sun Yan didn't invite Han Jingjing to sit with her. Perhaps she didn't want to ruin the peace and tranquility she had with Lin Yi in class. Sun Yan was already used to sharing a table with Lin Yi, and it gave her a sense of security. It was as if everything was supposed to be like this. Sun Yan didn't want anyone else to get involved and ruin the peace that they didn't know how long it would last. He heard that Zhao Ong was studying for a doctorate in medicine at Donghai Industry University, and he was here to create an opportunity for him to interact with Dao Long. If Xiaolong were to appear, this peace would be broken. At noon, Lin Yi sent a text to the miss, telling her that he was going back to Songtan to see Sun Jingyi. He wanted to see her practitioner's arts and pure qi, and compare it with the pure qi in Grandma Sun's head. The miss agreed without hesitation, but gave Lin Yi a difficult mission. She wanted Lin Yi to go back to the villa and bring her underwear from her room on the second floor. Although there were underwear for sale here, some misses were used to wearing underwear and didn't want to change. Lin Yi was speechless. He remembered that the miss didn't even let him go upstairs when he first arrived, but now she even wanted him to bring her underwear. But when did the miss become so bold? Hadn't she always been a reserved person? While Lin Yi was puzzled, Meng Yao was about to explode. Shu, who told you to do that? Oh, didn't Sister Yao Yao say that you're not used to the new lingerie and pajamas you bought? You want to bring all of them from Songshan's house? I saw that Shield Bro was going back, so I asked him to get it, Yushu said confidently. But he doesn't need to go get it. What if he sees what's in the cabinet? Meng Yao glared at Yushu, wanting to kick her to death. In the cupboard? What's that? Yushu blinked. You bought it yourself. Don't you know what it is? Meng Yao said angrily. That spinning stick you bought from the mail order, why did you have to buy it out of curiosity? Meng Yao's reminder reminded Yushu abruptly that there was a box in the cabinet with some imitation female products in it. Yushu had bought it online out of curiosity, but realized that it could damage the hymen when she bought it, so she didn't dare try it out. She'd only studied it for a while before tossing it into the cabinet, forgetting about it after that. She didn't expect Meng Yao to remember it though. What's with the us? Hurry up and text him not to take it. Meng Yao was pissed. But isn't texting us now? What if Shield Bro gets even more curious? Yushu said. Meng Yao thought about it. What if she texted Lin Yi to stop him from getting the underwear? He'd probably think it'd be weird if she stopped him from getting the underwear, and he'd check it out. It'd be like she and Shu were perverts, hiding things from him on purpose. Meng Yao sighed dejectedly at the thought. Forget it, I'll let you explain tonight. Oh, it's fine, I'll explain it. Don't worry, I won't drag Yao Yao down with me, Yushu promised with a pat on her chest. It had nothing to do with me. Meng Yao roared, frustrated. But you studied it too, Yao Yao. You didn't object when I bought it, Yushu said. Then how are you going to explain it? Meng Yao didn't want to dwell on the topic. I told you, I wanted to do XX with Shield Bro, but I didn't know how to do it, so I bought one to study and understand the structure, just in case. Yushu said. Whatever you want. Mengyao was speechless. Yushu had always been tough, and it was best for her to explain. Before he left, he went back to the dorm. The box of American dollars he got from the drug dealer was still in his backpack. He was going to give it to Xiaoka. Although Fatty Lai could support Xiaoka in the construction of the orphanage by waiving some of the construction fees and material fees, the children in the orphanage still needed money. Fatty Lai couldn't provide the money endlessly. After all, Miracle Dr. Guan's medical company needed a lot of money to develop. Linny didn't want to waste his money. After taking the money, Linny called Sun Jingyi. Sun Jingyi was surprised and happy when she received Lin Yi's call. Big thief, why are you calling me? I thought you forgot about me. Sun Jingyi's attitude towards Lin Yi was slowly changing. At first, she had a good impression of Lin Yi, but now she was a little moved. It wasn't until the Noble House meeting that Sun Jingyi realized how strong Lin Yi was. At first, Sun Jingyi was hesitant. She didn't know whether she liked Lin Yi or admired Lin Yi. But after seeing Ling Shan throwing herself at him, Sun Jingyi's competitive heart was touched. If she didn't grab onto such a good man, she wouldn't get another chance like this in the future. And these few days, when Sun Jingyi heard that Ling Shan was going to be transferred to Donghe, she was even more worried. She cursed Ling Shan for being so shameless. Lin Yi's wife just went to Xuegu, and Ling Shan was already in a hurry to get the position. She couldn't let her get her way. After all, she was Lin Yi's lover. It would be easier for her to go from a lover to a wife than an outsider like Ling Shan, right? Sometimes things were just so strange. Sun Jingyi went from being a little moved towards Lin Yi to suddenly occupying her whole heart. This strange phenomenon could be said to be a subtle influence. When Sun Jingyi calmed down, even she felt that it was unbelievable. Did she fall in love with Lin Yi just like that? When did it happen? When she asked him to help her deal with her business rivals? Or when she asked him to pretend to be her boyfriend to trick Wu Qitian? Or when she asked him to be her boyfriend to meet her grandpa? Xiaoshu. Target equals _blank. Chapter 1940. Date, October 20th. Chapter 1952. The Alliance of the Strong, or was it at the Noble House meeting when Lin Yi showed off his power? Sun Jingyi didn't remember exactly when it started, but she was sure that she had fallen in love with Lin Yi. Otherwise, she wouldn't have been so impulsive when she heard that Ling Shan was going to Donghe. And so, Sun Jingyi decided to discuss it with Qintian. The two of them would go to Donghe as well. She didn't think that Lin Yi would call before Sun Jingyi could find Qintian. You're still at your old place, right? I'll come find you in a bit, Lin Yi said. Ah? You're looking for me? Aren't you in Donghe? Sun Jingyi paused. Yes, but I'll be going back to Songzhan later. I have something to talk to you about, Lin Yi said. All right, see you later, Jingyi said, suppressing the joy in her heart as she hung up the phone. Sun Jingyi knew very well that Lin Yi was probably looking for her for some reason. It wasn't just because he missed her, but no matter what, Sun Jingyi was still very happy to see Lin Yi. Lin Yi didn't waste any more time and went straight to the highway. Lin Yi had quite a few things to do in Songzhan. Other than checking on Sun Jingyi's qi, he had to send money to Xiaoka, go to Songshan's Songzhan First School to see Ziyu and Xinxi, and then he had to get the Miss underwear. 2 hours later, Lin Yi's car stopped at the food street behind Songshan's First School. A trace of confusion flashed through Lin Yi's eyes as he looked at the familiar scenery. It was as if he'd experienced a lot of things with someone important here, but what exactly they were, Lin Yi couldn't remember. Frowning, Lin Yi shook his head helplessly, got out of the car and walked towards the first high school. The guard of the first high school naturally recognized Lin Yi. When he saw Lin Yi enter, he didn't stop him. It was after class, and there were many students on the sports field. This was such a familiar memory. Seeing the familiar sports field, the familiar teaching building, and the familiar cafeteria not far away, Lin Yi couldn't help but sigh with emotion. Student, do you know which class Ziyu and Qinxi are in? Lin Yi asked a random student who looked like he was a freshman. Ah, you don't know? When the student heard Lin Yi's question, He looked at Lin Yi strangely. Are they famous? Lin Yi was also stunned. It was strange that he didn't know. Not very famous, but extremely famous. Ziyu and Qinxi are the prettiest girls in the first year, but Ziyu has a hot personality. Not just anyone would go after her. Only school bully Zhou Ruoming would go after her. The students started talking excitedly. But compared to Ziyu, Qinxi is more popular. She's the commoner prettiest girl in school, and she's the target of many boys' fantasies. She's here to replace the commoner prettiest girl who graduated last year. Commoner prettiest girl? Lin Yi repeated those 4 words. What a familiar name. He seemed to have heard of it before. HM? Right, are you from our school or not? How come you don't know anything? With that, the student looked at Lin Yi with caution. Let me tell you, we can't even fight for the prettiest girl in our school. If you're from another school, you can pass. Ha! I'm Ziyu's brother. Lin Yi smiled. Ah? So you're Ziyu's brother? Then it's fine, bye. The student looked at Lin Yi, a little awkward. Calling his sister a hot personality in front of Ziyu's brother was something embarrassing. Wait, which class is Ziyu in? Lin Yi asked. Class 5. HM? Aren't you her brother? How come you don't know which class she's in? The student looked at Lin Yi suspiciously. Distant relative, just visiting her on the way. With that, Lin Yi turned and walked towards the school building. Could it be some random excuse made up by Ziyu's pursuer? The student shook his head and ignored him. Ziyu and Qinxi were the prettiest girls in school, but they were too far away from normal boys like them. They couldn't be reached. Lin Yi walked into the school building with familiarity, and found his classroom in no time at all. There was a group of people surrounding the classroom, and one of them was holding a bouquet of flowers, as if he was declaring his love for a girl. Ziyu, just say yes, I'm true to you, I really am. The guy was saying mushy words of love. But Lin Yi recognized this guy. Who else could it be but Zhou Ruoming? This guy was showing his love to Ziyu. This made Lin Yi frown. He'd only been gone for a few days, and the Zhou brothers were acting like this again. Didn't he ask Zhou Ruoming to take care of Ziyu? Why was his brother, Zhou Ruoming, harassing Ziyu himself? Did this family want to die? But from the looks of it, Zhou Ruoming didn't do anything overboard, so Lin Yi decided to wait and see. Ziyu had been really annoyed these past few days when Zhou Ruoming wrote her love letters. She didn't even look at them before throwing them away. He asked her out to eat a few times, but she rejected all of them. Who would have thought that Zhou Ruoming would be standing in front of the classroom with a bouquet of flowers? Zhou Ruoming, are you done? Didn't I tell you that my brother is really strong? If you keep bothering me, I'll tell him to break your third leg. Ziyu put her hands on her waist and glared at Zhou Ruoming. The surrounding students were speechless. She was the hot school beauty, after all, so fierce. Breaking someone's third leg with just one sentence. Hee hee, my brother's really strong too. That's even better, we're a strong team. Zhou Ruoming grinned. Ziyu frowned. It seemed like this guy wasn't going to let it go if she didn't do something drastic. You know the boss of the North District, Guangbro, right? Ziyu didn't want to mention these gangsters at first, since she'd promised Lin Yi that she'd study hard. She hadn't been fighting anyone with a knife in this period of time, but she didn't expect that they'd come looking for trouble instead. Book Ocean Pavilion, she's here as soon as possible. Boss of the North District, Guangbro? Isn't that my brother? Hee hee, he's called Zhou Ruoming, and I'm Zhou Ruoming. Your brother wouldn't be my brother, would he? Zhou Ruoming grinned. Could it be that Ziyu's brother was her god brother? That was even better. Now that they were together, they'd be even closer. It wasn't that Lin Yi left, but Zhou Ruoming didn't think that Zhou Ruoming and Ziyu would have anything to do with each other. He didn't know that Ziyu would come to Songshan's first school. Target equals _blank. Chapter 1941. Date, October 20th, Chapter 1953. Her brother is me. So Zhou Ruoming's your brother, that's even better. But he's not good enough to be my brother. Your brother's nothing but a pug in front of my brother. Ziyu remembered how much respect Zhou Ruoguang had for Lin Yi, and she couldn't help but feel proud of herself. This was even better. Bringing up Zhou Ruoguang and having him ask around would make this guy stop bothering her. What did you say? Zhou Ruoguang's face darkened. This was a slap in the face. He didn't use force on her before because he knew that she was a hooligan, but now she was calling him a pug. Zhou Ruoguang was furious. Who the hell is your brother? I'm her brother. Lin Yi smiled and walked over. You! Zhou Ruoguang paused, not expecting someone to answer. He turned around and his face changed. He didn't expect it to be Lin Yi, and his legs went soft, almost falling on his butt. He thought about what Ziyu said before, that your brother's nothing but a pug in front of my bro. She wasn't wrong at all. Even his old man Zhou Tiandi was nothing in front of Hayashi Lin, let alone Zhou Ruoguang. Hayashi Lin. Ziyu's your sister. Zhou Ruoguang just realized how stupid of a thing he'd done. Of all people, he had to go after Ziyu. His target was Qinshi, the commoner beauty, but Tang Yun, the commoner beauty, got beaten up by Lin Yi, so he was a bit traumatized. He didn't expect her to be Lin Yi's sister. Why haven't you graduated yet, kid? Can't you do something proper? You only know how to hit on girls. Lin Yi frowned. He could tell that Ziyu wasn't at a disadvantage, so Lin Yi didn't bother with Zhou Ruoguang. With a hooligan like him in school, he could at least look after Ziyu and Qinshi. Hayashi Lin, I can't get into college, so I'll just stay here for a few more years. Zhou Ruoguang said awkwardly. I'm sorry, Hayashi Lin, I didn't know Ziyu was your sister. I wouldn't have gone after her even if I had 100 guts if I did. I'll throw this flower away. Alright, you don't have to throw it away. Lin Yi snatched the flower from Zhou Ruoguang's hands. I'll give it to you then. Ziyu, this is for you. Ziyu was already very surprised to see Lin Yi, and seeing Lin Yi give her a flower, her heart skipped a beat and her face blushed. In front of outsiders, she was a hot girl, but in front of Lin Yi, she was a good girl. She took the flower and said shyly, Lin Yi bro, thank you. Ugh. Zhou Ruoguang was a bit dumbfounded. Ziyu had this shy side to her? But then he remembered that Lin Yi and Ziyu didn't have the same surname. Could they be siblings? At that thought, Zhou Ruoguang's legs shivered. He really was blind, chasing two women who were Hayashi Lin's women. He was asking to die. Lin Yi bro! Qinshi saw Lin Yi as well, but her face darkened when she saw Lin Yi giving flowers to Ziyu. She recovered quickly, and her mood was replaced with joy. Why are you here? Lin Yi's senses were sharp. How could he not see the sadness in Qinshi's eyes? She smiled and split the flowers in Ziyu's hands into two, giving one to Qinshi. This was for you too. I was just about to ask Ziyu to give it to you. Yeah, Qinshi, Lin Yi bro wanted to give it to you. Ziyu looked at Qinshi teasingly as well. She knew what Qinshi was thinking, of course. She'd been joking with her about Lin Yi a lot lately. Is that so? Qinshi was happy, but she jumped when she saw Ziyu's eyes. She was afraid that she'd say something inappropriate in front of Lin Yi. Thank you, Lin Yi bro, let's talk outside the classroom. It's not too good. Qinshi was a bit shy. She had puppy love in her classmates, but she was the type of girl who was more cautious. She had a crush on Lin Yi, but she didn't want people to see it. In fact, even Zhou Ruoming could tell what Qinshi was thinking. Zhou Ruoming sighed to himself. If he'd gone after Qinshi back then, he'd be in big trouble. Going after a weak girl like Qinshi. Zhou Ruoming wouldn't do what he did to Ziyu. He'd definitely do what he did to Tang Yun, threatening her. But if he did that, Lin Yi would probably stomp him to death. What's going on? What are you all standing at the classroom door for? A familiar voice rang out, and the students at the door dispersed immediately. Even Zhou Ruoming carefully moved to the side. What are you three standing there for? The voice rang out again, this time for Lin Yi, Ziyu, and Qinshi. Haha, Mr. Wang, I'm here to see my sisters. Lin Yi smiled as he greeted the owner of the voice. Lin Yi? Jifeng's face turned a bit weird when he saw Lin Yi. He was relieved that Lin Yi had graduated. He could finally go back to being that powerful headmaster, but now Lin Yi was back. He didn't dare pretend in front of Lin Yi. Now that Lin Yi had graduated, he wasn't afraid of him anymore. What if Lin Yi said something about what happened before? He'd be in trouble. Therefore, Wang Jifeng immediately put on a kind smile. Ah, these two are your younger sisters. Are they from grade 5, class 5? I understand. If you need anything in the future, you can come find me anytime. Chen Shi Ziyu, Mr. Wang said that if you need anything, just go find him. Like if someone's chasing after you or something. Lin Yi said with a smile. Ziyu's eyes widened. She didn't think that the headmaster would be this nice to Lin Yi. Just who was this guy? Why was he so cocky everywhere he went? Ziyu was practically worshipping Lin Yi now. Haha, there's no need for the headmaster to do anything. I'll take care of it for Hayashi Lin. Zhou Ruoming was worried that Lin Yi would come looking for trouble. He quickly patted his chest in front of Lin Yi. Jifeng was speechless. This Zhou Ruoming was so loyal after getting beaten up by Lin Yi a couple of times. This guy was really a softie. But then again, wasn't his weakness in Lin Yi's hands as well? Target equals _blank. Chapter 1942. Date, October 20th, Chapter 1954. In Ziyu's idea, these two could be considered the black and white sides of the school. No one would dare bully Ziyu and Chen Shi in school anymore. The next class is gym, we're not going. Lin Yi bro, bring us out for a walk, we haven't seen you in a long time, Ziyu said, skipping class right in front of the dean. Haha, it's fine. You guys go if you have something to do, I'll talk to the gym teacher, Jifeng said, wishing that Lin Yi would leave. Chen Shi wasn't as smart as Ziyu, and her eyes went wide at the words of the strict dean. She couldn't believe it. But Ziyu was already holding her hand, following Lin Yi out of the school building. Ziyu, not bad, actually reaching the minimum requirement to pay for your own expenses. It seems like she's hard work this time. The first half of Lin Yi's sentence was to praise Ziyu, and Ziyu was feeling proud of herself. But the second half of Lin Yi's sentence was to praise Chen Shi. This made Ziyu very depressed. It's true that it's she's work, but she tried her best too, Ziyu said, a little unhappy. Yeah, Lin Yi bro, Ziyu really put in a lot of effort, Chen Shi said. I know, I don't want her to get arrogant, Lin Yi said. But you didn't disappoint me, Ziyu. Study hard, and you'll be able to face yourself and your brother in the future. My brother. Ziyu's face was a little down when she heard Lin Yi bring up her brother. My brother's mission isn't done yet. When will he come back? I don't know about that, some things are confidential, and I can't just say it like that. Please remember, Lin Yi said. But it'll be a long time, or your brother wouldn't have asked me to take care of you. The person my brother asked isn't bad at all. Big brother Lin Yi, you're so awesome. Wherever you go, people seem to be afraid of you. Even that black-faced Wang Jifeng treats you kindly. You're really awesome. Ziyu had been scolded by Wang Jifeng a couple of times since school, and she naturally held a grudge against him. Seeing how nice he was to Lin Yi today, Ziyu felt a lot better. Do you have enough money? He came to see Ziyu mainly because he wanted to ask if she had any money to spend. The school had waived her tuition, but she still needed money for her living. Fortunately, I haven't spent all the money you left me last time. I don't really need money. Ziyu wasn't the kind of girl who spent a lot of money. She usually spent money on transportation and food, and she didn't really buy clothes. Well, it's good that you know how to be thrifty, but don't waste yourself too much. This is a card with 20,000 yuan in it. If you use it sparingly, it should be enough for a semester, Lin Yi said as he handed a card to Ziyu. This was the card Lin Yi got before coming. The password is 6 zeros. This? My brother told you to give me? Ziyu didn't want to take Lin Yi's money. Yeah, your brother left me some money and told me to give it to you regularly, Lin Yi said vaguely. Oh. Ziyu didn't hold back and took the card, putting it in her pocket. How's your mom? She's fine now, right? Linny didn't know why, but he thought of old Ju again. That guy always had bad intentions, and he didn't know if he tried to harm Chinchi's mom again. Mom's better now, and she's working at that beef noodle house now. She's a part-time waitress, making $2,000 a month. Chinchi was very happy when she talked about her mom's situation. Not only was her mom better, but she could also go out and earn money. Chinchi's family's life was a lot easier now. With her mom's income, Chinchi didn't have to scavenge every day anymore. She could only go out on weekends, and it wouldn't affect her studies. Linny nodded. All right, go back and study then. I'm leaving now, I'm studying at Donghee. Call me if you need anything. You're leaving. Chinchi didn't want Linny to leave, but she wasn't someone who was good at expressing herself. She didn't know how to make him stay. Linny bro, since you're here, don't leave so early. You didn't even treat me and she to dinner, Ziyu said coquettishly. When my brother comes back, I'll tell him how you treat us. Ha! Linny smiled, but his heart tightened. Ziyu might never know that her brother was already dead, and she'd never see Armadillo again. At that thought, Lin Yi's face changed. Let's go, I'll treat you guys to dinner. What do you want to eat? And I want to eat the beef noodle house she's mom works at, Ziyu said. I tried it once before, and I thought it was a bit expensive. This time, it's your treat, Linny bro. Alright, let's go then. Linny sighed. Ziyu was a good girl by nature, and being in that school before was actually a form of protection for herself. She wouldn't be able to survive alone in that kind of environment, and even if she did survive, she might catch the eye of some hoodlum and become their slave. After treating Ziyu and Chinchi to some noodles, Linny sent them back to school, telling them to study hard before leaving. Lin Yi's heart was a bit heavy. Seeing Ziyu's happy face, Lin Yi's heart was pounding. He'd have to tell her about Armadillo sooner or later, but how was he supposed to tell her? You. I don't even know what to say to you. Haven't you heard that you have to fight for your own happiness? You're so quiet, can't you be a bit more proactive? How many years does it take for Linny bro to come visit us? Look, you're wasting the chance, aren't you? Ziyu scolded Chinchi. Ziyu had guessed Chinchi's thoughts, and she denied it at first, but after a while, she admitted it. Liking Linny wasn't something to be ashamed of, and so Ziyu started teaching her how to chase guys, but she didn't have the chance to put what she taught her into practice. Man, no, I need to do something else next time. Do you know how to flirt? Find a chance next time and trick Linny bro to come to my house. Dress a bit more sexily and flirt with him, maybe it'll work, Ziyu said. Hiya Ziyu sis, what are you talking about? I don't know how to. That's so indecent. Chinchi's face got redder. Ziyu actually came up with something like this, telling her to flirt? Wasn't that something only bad girls would do? Target equals _blank. Chapter 1943. Date, October 20th, Chapter 1955. Depressing and depressing. What's so improper about it? Haven't you heard of this saying? Women need to be able to go to the hall, cook in the kitchen, and get on the bed, Ziyu said with a serious face. You need to be noble and dignified in front of outsiders, gentle and virtuous at home, good at cooking. When you're in bed, you need to be horny. Men all like women like that. Ziyu used to be a delinquent girl, living with a bunch of men. She'd heard a lot of this stuff, and now she was teaching Chinchi. 7 by 24 hours of continuous updates, pure TT handmade. Really? Chinchi was more innocent, but Ziyu's words made sense. But that was too embarrassing, and she couldn't do it. Of course, no, I have to keep training you or you won't have a big chance, Ziyu said. Ziyu sis, can we not get on the bed? Chinchi said bitterly. How can we do that? This is the most important thing, Ziyu said. Don't worry, it's easy to learn. I'll get you some movies, and you'll know when you come to my house. Okay. Chinchi stupidly agreed. After leaving the first high school, Linny drove back to the villa area. Ever since he went to East Box, no one had come to this villa for a long time. Linny opened the door of the villa and suddenly felt a sense of desolation. Linny didn't delay. He went upstairs and came to the elder sister and Shu's bedroom on the second floor. This used to be Lin Yi's forbidden place, but later, everyone's relationship became harmonious. Lin Yi came up a few times, but if there was nothing important, Lin Yi still wouldn't come. CME, opening her wardrobe, Lin Yi found a clean underwear storage box and took out the underwear and pajamas in the wardrobe one by one and put them in the storage box. Big Sister's and Shu's underwear were basically cute. Many of them were printed with cartoon patterns, but even so, it still gave people a feeling of imagination. Looking at the underwear in front of him, Lin Yi couldn't help but think of the incident at Grandma Sun's house, when Big Sister took off her clothes to take a bath. He immediately cursed the 3 Earth-rank bastards for coming at the wrong time. Burning them to death with fire poison was really letting them off easy. After packing the underwear, Lin Yi found that there was a box under the cabinet. Lin Yi didn't think much about it. He thought that it was a new underwear that hadn't been unpacked, so he picked it up. But when he held it in his hand, he was shocked. Damn, it's so big! Lin Yi looked at the huge thing in front of him, and was shocked. Such a huge female masturbator, was it for Big Sister or Shu? But it doesn't seem like it. Big Sister definitely isn't this kind of person, and Shu, although her character is a bit tough, in Lin Yi's opinion, she wouldn't use such a terrifying thing. However, this appeared in Big Sister and Shu's cabinet. Other than the two of them, there really wasn't anyone else. 7 by 24 hours of continuous updates, pure TT handmade, Lin Yi was a bit hesitant. He didn't know if he should give it to them. He wanted to ask Big Sister and Shu, but Lin Yi was too embarrassed to do so. After a moment of silence, Lin Yi directly stuffed the box into the storage box. He gave it to them anyway, so they wouldn't need it anymore. Lin Yi didn't think too much about it. Perhaps Shu bought it to prank others. This girl often tricked people, so it wasn't impossible for her to buy something like this and stuff it into the bags of Zhong Pingliang and the others. After packing these things, Lin Yi put the storage box in the car's trunk. He then turned back to his room and took out a male thief mask. Lin Yi thought about it, and decided to meet Yuka as the male thief. He'd helped her last time with his identity, and the girl had misunderstood him. He didn't want to go through the trouble of explaining to her. Yuka was going crazy recently. Although the construction of the orphanage was on the right track, and most of the buildings were built by Fatty Lie's company for free, she still lacked money. Yes, she lacked money very much. There was no other reason. Ling Shan had recently uncovered a criminal group that specialized in kidnapping and selling children, raising them to become beggars, entertainers, and thieves. The person in charge of this group was Njienda, but he was beaten half to a pulp by Lin Yi and was sent back to the firewolves by the professor. His underlings didn't know about this, and while they were waiting for Njienda to come back, the police came to their door and wiped out their criminal base. Although the criminals had been sent to prison, the children and street children who had been caught had become a big problem. The police released pictures of these children, and while waiting for their parents to come and claim them, they sent them to the city's orphanage. Of course, everyone knew that other than a few parents who would recognize their children and take them back, most of the children would stay in the orphanage forever. Some of the children were even sold or abandoned by their cruel parents, so why would they take them back? The orphanage suddenly had more than 200 children, and that meant more than 200 mouths. No matter how rich Yuka was, she wouldn't be able to take care of all these children. The money that Lin Yi gave her last time was basically used up, and Yuka was so anxious that she wanted to go back to her old business. In fact, the orphanage could totally reject these 200 orphans. After all, the orphanage wasn't in a good financial situation right now, and suddenly having so many children would definitely increase the burden. However, Yuka and the old director were kind people. They opened this orphanage not to make money, but completely out of love. Yuka even went to the hospital to adopt abandoned babies. Faced with so many homeless children, how could she reject them? Master, there are so many children! Food, clothes, and daily necessities. This cost is too much, and we can't afford it. Why don't we borrow some money from Chairman Lai? Yuka didn't want to borrow money unless it was absolutely necessary. She didn't know why Lin Yi was so good to her. Not only did he give her a sum of money last time, but now he let Fatty Lai build some facilities for the orphanage during the factory's free time. Although most of the materials used were leftover from the factory's construction, and the construction time wasn't fixed, he only helped the orphanage when his construction company was free. Although the progress was slow, the orphanage didn't have to pay a single cent. So, Yuka was a little puzzled. What was Lin Yi doing? Since she already knew that she had someone she liked, and it was impossible for her to have anything to do with him, he still did this for another reason. But if that wasn't the case, then why? Target equals _blank. Chapter 1944. Date, October 20th. Master, your identity. Xiaoka was startled. She knew a little about her master, and if her master were to show his face in public, his life would be in danger. It's been so many years, and that incident should be over by now. Plus, I only accept missions from the thief's door, so there shouldn't be any problems, the dean said. Master, why don't I go? Xiaoka hesitated. No! You almost lost your life last time, and if it wasn't for the male thief protecting you, you wouldn't have made it back. The dean rejected Xiaoka's suggestion. Although you are proficient in some mechanisms and dark arts, your experience is still too little. Facing those cunning people of the same profession, how are you a match for them? Hearing the dean's words, Xiaoka couldn't help but fall into silence. It was true that during the tomb robbery, if it wasn't for the male thief protecting her, she would have become old Hayes' cannon fodder. She wouldn't even know how she died. Man, if only the male thief could come with me. Xiaoka sighed. Lin Yi stood outside the dean's room quietly, listening to their conversation. He didn't think that the orphanage was still so difficult. He thought that with the money he gave them last time, and with Fatty Lai's free help, the orphanage would have a good life. Who knew that there would suddenly be 200 more orphans? This was killing Xiaoka. With Xiaoka's personality, even if she didn't eat or drink, she wouldn't let these children suffer. So, although Xiaoka was a little reckless and greedy, Lin Yi had a good impression of her. Otherwise, Lin Yi wouldn't have thought of giving this small box of money to Xiaoka immediately. Lin Yi didn't disturb her and waited for Xiaoka outside the room. He didn't want the dean to know that he was here, and he only wanted to see Xiaoka and leave after giving her the things. Lin Yi didn't want too many people to know his identity as the male thief. This dean was a half-golden class master, and Lin Yi felt that she had some secrets. Xiaoka also said that she seemed to have a grudge against someone, so Lin Yi didn't want to have too much to do with her. After talking to the dean, Xiaoka left the room, but she didn't take 2 steps before a voice came from behind. Flying Sparrow, can I talk to you? Lin Yi suddenly appeared behind Xiaoka. Xiaoka froze, but hearing the familiar voice and the unique name, her eyes lit up with excitement. Male thief! She turned around and saw the familiar mask. Xiaoka's heart skipped a beat, and her cute face blushed. This was the person that she thought about day and night, the person that always appeared in her dreams. She didn't think that he would appear in front of her again. Didn't he say that they wouldn't meet again every time they parted? But it didn't take long for them to meet again, and it made Xiaoka very happy. Ha! It's me, but aren't you going to invite me to your room? It's not good for others to see me like this, right? Lin Yi pointed at his mask and smiled bitterly. Xiaoka couldn't see Lin Yi's bitter smile, but she could hear the awkwardness in Lin Yi's voice. She playfully said, Then take off your mask. Take it off. I'm afraid you'll be disappointed. Sometimes expectations are better than reality. Lin Yi said faintly. If you don't want to take it off, then don't take it off. Even if you're ugly, I still like you. Xiaoka was telling the truth. She liked the male thief as a person. She didn't know what he looked like, and he always wore that stiff mask in front of her, but Xiaoka liked him just the way she liked him. Haha, then you can treat me as an ugly monster. Linny smiled. Although Shioka said that, she still quickened her steps and brought Linny to her room. Shioka was very excited. This was the second time the male thief came to find her, and this was a good start. After entering the room, Shioka happily made a cup of tea for Linny and sat beside Linny. "How come you have time to find me today? It seems like you're having a hard time, so this is for you." Linny handed the small suitcase to Shioka. "What's this?" Shioka paused and took the suitcase, opening it. The moment she opened it, her eyes filled with a green light. American dollars. So much. For me? Yi nodded. "Wow, male thief, you're too good to me." Shioka hugged Linny and kissed Linny's mask. "I love you so much." Linny was a bit speechless. This Shioka treated the male thief and Linny completely differently. Last time when he used Linny's identity to give her money, she didn't seem happy at all, and even acted like he was plotting something against her. If it was the male thief, he would have thrown himself at her. This money came from illegal sources, from a drug dealer. "You should have a way to exchange it, right?" Linny reminded. "That's no problem. We're from the thief sect. Dealing with this kind of money is no problem at all." Shioka said nonchalantly. $1.5 million? Haha, that's great. It'll be enough for a long time. You can use it first. I'll send you more if I have this kind of money in the future. Linny wouldn't mind cashing in again. "I'm leaving now." "Ah. You're leaving already?" Shioka was a bit disappointed, but when she thought about how the male thief came to give her money, she felt sweet inside. He still cared about her, after all. Otherwise, why would he think of her first after robbing a drug dealer? And, right, does the thief sect, do you have a special channel for information? I'm looking for some rare items. Do you have a way? Linny was about to leave when he remembered something. "Of course I can help you. Keep an eye out for what you're looking for." Shioka was overjoyed. She was afraid that the male thief would look for her if he didn't need anything. As long as they established a connection, wouldn't it be easy to meet him in the future? "Chromatic steel, a type of multicolored steel," Linny said. "There's also blue crystal, and pure yellow jade, these three things. Shortcut key, enter, next page, shortcut key, target equals, _blank. Chapter 1945. Date, October 20th. "Oh. Okay, I'll keep an eye out for you." Shioka didn't have any suspicions after hearing what Linny said. The male thief wouldn't look for normal things so seriously, so it was normal that she hadn't even heard of some of them before. "But how do I contact you if I have any news?" Shioka's eyes flashed with cunningness. As long as she got the male thief's contact number, she could call her often. Linny wanted to give her his number, but he remembered that it was registered with his ID. What if Shioka checked it and found out who he was? So Linny said, "How about this? I'll come back after a while." "I see. Okay then." Shioka was a little disappointed, but the male thief agreeing to come back was much better than never seeing him again. "I'll be going then." Linny saw the reluctance in Shioka's eyes and sighed. "Okay." Shioka nodded. Linny turned around and walked towards the door. "Male thief." Shioka couldn't help but call out again. "What's wrong?" Linny turned around. I like you." Shioka had said these words countless times in her dream. Although she'd confessed to Linny before, she couldn't help but say it again when she saw him again. Linny's footsteps paused, but he didn't say anything. He shook his head and quickly left the room, disappearing without a trace. Shioka, on the other hand, stared at Lin Yi's disappearing silhouette, lost in thought. Lin Yi had no choice but to ask for Shioka's help. These three items were too precious, and although Fatty Lai had been asking around for them, there wasn't any news. The blue crystal was something that could only be found by chance, and as for the pure yellow jade, he didn't know where it was either. There was no news about Kai Gang either, so Lin Yi could only try his luck and ask for Shioka's help. After leaving the orphanage, Lin Yi went back to the car and took off his mask. He called Sun Jingyi directly. "Jingyi, where are you?" "I'm in Songzhan now," Lin Yi said. "Ah, you're already here?" I'm at home, tell me a place and I'll go right away. Sun Jingyi said. Let's go to your home, some things can't be done in public. Linny said. Ah? Sun Jingyi blinked and blushed. Some things can't be done in public? What did that mean? Could it be that Linny wanted to? With that thought, Sun Jingyi couldn't help but blush. Could it be that Linny wanted to exercise his right to let his lover do it? Ugh! Let's call Wu Qingtian too. Linny couldn't see Sun Jingyi's expression, so he didn't know what she was thinking. Huh! Wu Qingtian? Sun Jingyi was even more dumbfounded. Why would Linny call Wu Qingtian? Could it be that he wanted to do 3P? Xiao Xiao told her that she wanted to do 3P with Linny. Could it be that Linny really wanted to do it after tasting the sweetness? But giving Sun Jingyi to Linny was fine, but giving it to Wu Qingtian? Wasn't that asking for her death? Yeah, what's wrong? Linny blinked, noticing that Sun Jingyi's tone wasn't right. Wu Qingtian. That's not too good, right? Sun Jingyi may look like a strong woman in public, but in front of Linny, she looked like a retard. Not good? That's right. Linny thought about it. He wanted to ask Sun Jingyi about her practitioner's arts. Although Wu Qingtian wasn't an outsider, it wouldn't be convenient. Linny nodded. All right, I won't call him then. Phew! Sun Jingyi let out a breath of relief. Huh! That's not right. Linny suddenly remembered that he didn't tell Sun Jingyi why he was looking for her. How could she know? So what did she mean by her words just now? With that thought, Linny asked with a weird expression. Jingyi, you don't want me to call Wu Qingtian, what do you mean? You. Didn't you want to do that with me? I'm not even ready yet, why are you looking for Wu Qingtian? I'm not that kind of person. Sun Jingyi panicked when she heard that Linny was looking for Wu Qingtian again. The misunderstanding between the two was because they couldn't see each other. If Linny could see Sun Jingyi, he would be able to guess what she misunderstood. And if Sun Jingyi could see the weird expression on Linny's face, she would know that she misunderstood him. But they couldn't see each other's expressions, and they could only guess from their words. And so, the misunderstanding grew bigger and bigger, and Sun Jingyi exploded. Although Linny was strong, and she had feelings for him, but even if she had feelings for him, she couldn't just humiliate herself like that, could she? With him. Although she wasn't ready, she was willing. But with Wu Qingtian, she might as well kill herself. What? Linny didn't know what to do when he heard Sun Jingyi's sudden outburst, but he finally understood why Sun Jingyi misunderstood him. He didn't know whether to laugh or cry. Jingyi, what does this have to do with being promiscuous? I went to you to ask about House Sun's arts, and as for Wu Qingtian, it was to discuss your future plans. But I thought that although Wu Qingtian isn't an outsider, it's better to keep your arts a secret, so I didn't go to him. Did you misunderstand something? Sun Jingyi's face reddened even more. She wanted to find a hole to hide in. No way? She misunderstood? Furthermore, the misunderstanding was so thorough? How shameful. But luckily, Sun Jingyi knew that Linny couldn't see her expression, so she coughed and said, I didn't misunderstand, what I mean is, I've never let anyone enter my room. Yes, only people I like can enter. So Wu Qingtian can't come. Yes, that's it. Hearing Sun Jingyi's explanation, Linny didn't purposely expose her. It was funny when he thought about it. Sun Jingyi thought that he was going to ask Wu Qingtian to do it with her. Was he that shameless? Okay, can I come? Linny asked. You are my half-lover, so others can't come, but you can come. Sun Jingyi said a little embarrassedly. Although she didn't directly admit that Linny was the one she liked, it was a silent agreement. Plentips, target equals _blank. Chapter 1946. Then you wait for me. Linny found that Sun Jingyi, this little girl, was really interesting. On the surface, she seemed to be strong. In fact, she was still a little girl who hadn't grown up. Her disguise was just to protect herself. The fickleness of human relationships in a big family made her learn to protect herself from an early age. And Sun Jingyi nodded shyly. Her disguise had already been seen through by Lin Yi, so Sun Jingyi wouldn't be so tired to protect herself in front of Lin Yi. She was like a wandering child who found a harbor to shelter from the wind. This feeling was very comfortable. Half an hour later, Lin Yi came to the community where Sun Jingyi rented. This was an apartment area. Although Lin Yi knew the address, he had never been here before. Parking the car downstairs, Lin Yi took the elevator upstairs and rang the doorbell of Sun Jingyi's house. After a while, Sun Jingyi's voice came from inside. "Who is it?" "It's me, Lin Yi," said Lin Yi. The door was opened, and Sun Jingyi looked at Lin Yi with some surprise. "You're here!" Lin Yi looked at Sun Jingyi, and a slight smile appeared at the corner of his mouth. This little girl was obviously wearing pajamas at home, but her face was carefully made up. Obviously, she dressed up for his arrival. This made Lin Yi feel surprised and helpless. "Sun Jingyi, did it become real? Is it the pressure from the Sun family, or is it Sun Jingyi's own intention?" Lin Yi didn't like the kind of purposeful interaction. If Sun Jingyi approached him on the idea of old man Sun, then Lin Yi would feel uncomfortable. "Make yourself look more innocent. It's quite pleasing to the eye. It's much better than the mature look you used to have," Lin Yi said. "The company has been sold. I have nothing to do. Of course, I won't dress up anymore." Sun Jingyi listened to Lin Yi's words and was a little happy. "Am I really beautiful today?" "Indeed." Lin Yi nodded and said. "But the next time I come, you don't have to dress up. There's no need. You're already pretty good looking." Sun Jingyi's thoughts were exposed by Lin Yi, and she immediately felt a little embarrassed. She said, "I went out to buy food. That's why I put on makeup. Do you think it's because of you? Shameless. Hell, what about food? I happen to be a little hungry," Lin Yi said. "Food? I've finished eating." Sun Jingyi snorted. "Finished eating?" Lin Yi looked at Sun Jingyi with a smile that wasn't a smile. "I've really finished eating. I've thrown away the packaging," Sun Jingyi said. Book C Pavilion. "Oh, where did you throw the packaging? Let me see what you're eating. I'll go buy it too." "I don't know what to eat anyway," Lin Yi said seriously. "Lin Yi, are you doing this on purpose? Why are you so annoying?" Sun Jingyi saw that Lin Yi was deliberately making fun of her. She simply stopped pretending and said angrily, "I dressed up for you, okay? Are you satisfied?" Ugh. Lin Yi didn't expect to make Sun Jingyi go berserk twice in one day. He suddenly felt a little embarrassed. He touched his chin and smiled bitterly. "Jingyi, I'm just joking, me too," Sun Jingyi said. Hee, okay, let's get down to business." "Right, can you transfer some of your true qi to me?" Lin Yi asked. "My true qi? Transfer it to you?" After Sun Jingyi was slightly stunned, her face became extremely strange. "Are you serious? What's wrong?" Lin Yi saw Sun Jingyi's expression, and he faintly felt that there seemed to be something that he had neglected. When the people of our Sun family reach the first level, true qi can only be used by one person. If we can't reach the second level, then we can only transfer true qi to this person for the rest of our lives. Sun Jingyi said. "Don't you know?" Lin Yi had heard of this situation, but he ignored this condition before. He thought that it was okay for Sun Jingyi to transfer some true qi. But now it seemed that if he wanted Sun Jingyi's true qi, it was equivalent to binding Sun Jingyi's lifetime happiness. Before Lin Yi made up his mind to accept this girl, he definitely couldn't do such a reckless thing. Therefore, Lin Yi suddenly felt a little embarrassed. "I forgot about this, but don't get me wrong. I just want to study your true qi. I don't mean anything else, I see." Sun Jingyi breathed a sigh of relief, but at the same time, she was a little disappointed. She was even thinking that if Lin Yi insisted, would she listen to him and transfer her true qi to him? In that case, she could rely on him openly because she had pinned her lifetime happiness on Lin Yi. She, Sun Jingyi, could only serve Lin Yi for the rest of her life. "So, if after you transfer your true qi to me, your true chi will automatically become the same as mine, then the true chi that you produce in the future will automatically become this kind of true chi? Linny suddenly thought of a very important question and asked quickly. That's right. Sun Jingyi nodded. This mental cultivation of our Sun family is very strange. It is completely an auxiliary mental cultivation. Once the true chi in my body becomes your true chi, then no matter how much true chi I have, it will be the same kind of true chi. So that's how it is. There was a hint of understanding and joy in Lin Yi's eyes. If it was really like what Sun Jingyi said, then there was no need for him to study Sun Jingyi's true chi. No wonder he felt that the true chi in Grandma Sun's mind didn't have any evil intentions, and there was a familiar feeling. It turned out that this feeling didn't come from Sun Jingyi, but from Faubert. Since Grandma Sun was Faubert's wife, then the true chi that came out of Grandma Sun was naturally the same as Faubert's true chi. After thinking about this, Lin Yi secretly scolded himself for being stupid. He actually gave up what was close at hand and sought what was far away. Didn't he know everything when he tested Faubert's true chi? Yeah, what's wrong? Sun Jingyi saw that Lin Yi seemed to be very happy, and she was somewhat puzzled. Hee, Jingyi, thank you, you helped me solve a big problem. Lin Yi laughed. So your Sun family's mental cultivation is so strange, no wonder I can't see through your strength. From the moment Lin Yi met Sun Jingyi, he couldn't see through her strength. It could only be said that Sun Jingyi's mental cultivation belonged to the swordsman, but it wasn't completely swordsman. She didn't have a strength level, it was completely an auxiliary mental cultivation. Well, it's nothing. Sun Jingyi shook her head. She didn't understand what she had helped Lin Yi with. All right, Jingyi, can you give me a copy of your mental cultivation? Lin Yi suddenly thought that if he let Grandma Sun continue, could she continue to help Faubert? Target equals _blank. Chapter 1947. Date, October 20th. This is possible, but only the people of our Sun family can practice the Heart Sutra. Others can't practice it. Sun Jingyi wasn't very secretive about the family's Heart Sutra. After all, the Sun family also gave this Heart Sutra to the people of the Wu family to practice, but it ended in failure. The final conclusion was that this Heart Sutra was only effective for the people of the Sun family. Others couldn't practice it. So in this way, this Heart Sutra wasn't important, and there was no confidentiality. The people who were in high demand were the children of the Sun family. It's okay. I just want to study it, Lin Yi said. Okay, then you wait. I'll send it to you via text message. As Sun Jingyi said this, she took out her mobile phone, found a file, and sent it directly to Lin Yi. Lin Yi's mobile phone immediately sounded a notification that he had received an email. Lin Yi was a little speechless. In his opinion, these Inner Force Sutra were all written on bamboo slips and sheepskin scrolls. At the very least, it was a thread-bound book. Sun Jingyi's Heart Sutra was good, it was directly an e-book. However, this was also a product of the development of the times. Lin Yi thought that he was lagging behind. Originally, Lin Yi also wanted to help Sun Jingyi improve some strength, but he thought that if his true chi went to Sun Jingyi, would it cause changes to Sun Jingyi's true chi? If Sun Jingyi's true chi became the same as his own, then Lin Yi would be in trouble. Thank you. Lin Yi saved the Heart Sutra in his mobile phone and said sincerely. Right, Jingyi, what are your plans for the future? Lin Yi knew that Sun Jingyi's company had been sold, and she had nothing to do at the moment. I don't know. I don't want to go back to the Sun family, and I don't want to work hard to start a business alone. Speaking of this, Sun Jingyi smiled self-deprecatingly and said, You also saw it. A girl with no background. I also don't have a strong man to protect me. My business is always bullied, just like last time. Ha, don't you have Wu Qitian helping you now? Whoever dares to bully you, that kid will slap them to death with one palm. Lin Yi laughed. It's mainly because it's too tiring to manage a company alone. And now I don't need to prove anything, Sun Jingyi said. In the past, starting a business was for the Sun family to see. Let Grandpa and the others feel that I'm not just a victim of profit in the Sun family. Instead, he could be independent. But now I find that this idea is somewhat wrong. In any case, I can't do too much on my own after so many years. It's still a small company. Lin Yi knew about Sun Jingyi's pitiful life, so he nodded in silence. But you can't always stay here, right? I don't know. But in this noble house meeting, I've understood something. Sun Jingyi said. That is, the strong are respected. In the eyes of the noble houses and hidden houses, only the strength of a practitioner represents everything. Thinking about it, it was laughable that I wanted to use business to prove my strength. That's right. The foundation of a noble house and hidden house is the strength and number of practitioners. Lin Yi said. Why, do you want to train too? Haven't I always been training? Jingyi smiled bitterly, thinking back to my grandpa's attitude during the meeting. He wanted me to marry Wu Qintian, but when he saw how you destroyed House Yu so domineeringly, he told me to get on your good side. But when he heard that you pissed off a hidden house, and they sent 3 Earth class after you, he froze my bank account and told me to stay away from you. At the end of the day, in their eyes, I'm still a commodity. I thought that Grandpa treated me differently, but even though he was nice to me, family isn't as important in the face of the family's interests. Jingyi smiled bitterly. Thinking about Grandpa's attitude back then, how could Lin Yi not understand what Sun Jingyi was saying? Noble houses were the same as those sections. Thinking back to how excited Crystal Candy was when she found out about Xiaoxiu's constitution, and how she was willing to lower herself to talk terms with a mystic like him so that she could become the heir of the Ice Palace. Sometimes it can't be helped. Your grandpa may be an old fox, but he did it for the sake of the family, Lin Yi said. In an old man like him, the family's benefits are above everything else, so you can't say that he's wrong. Some things can't be right or wrong. Yes, so in order to escape this fate, I have to become a strong practitioner, Jingyi said. I want to work hard on my training. Once I reach the 2nd stage of House Sun's arts, I'll be one of the core members of House Sunday. Even my grandpa won't make me do things I don't like anymore. If I reach the 5th stage, then I'll be able to transfer qi to any practitioner, and there won't be any restrictions. My identity will be different by then. Of course, the 5th stage is just a dream for House Sun, and no one has reached it yet, Jingyi said. Your arts are too weird, and you're not leveling up between Sky, Earth, Mystic, and Yellow, so I want to help you, but I can't, Lin Yi said. I can't raise your strength as fast as Wu Qintian and the others. I know. Sun Jingyi nodded and said. House Sun's arts can only be improved by absorbing qi from the surroundings. There's no other way. Lin Yi nodded. The energy in his body was pure energy, but it wasn't pure qi. It was pure qi that was converted from the qi of heaven and earth through the art of dragon mastery. Although this qi had the same effect as the qi of heaven and earth, and could be converted into other types of qi for others to use, the prerequisite was that the art of dragon mastery was the art of conversion. So, the all-purpose qi combined with the arts was equivalent to the qi of the surroundings, and could be used by others. It wasn't like the normal qi of the surroundings, which could be directly absorbed and refined by the practitioner. The two had the same effect, but the essence was different. If Sun Jingyi absorbed his qi, she would probably become like him. She didn't know the art of dragon mastery, so naturally, she couldn't transform qi. In this case, Sun Jingyi's qi could only be used by him in the future. To put it bluntly, Sun Jingyi's body was like an energy storage device. Her body could absorb the qi of the surroundings, and this qi could be absorbed and refined by other practitioners. Of course, this was only Lin Yi's guess. Lin Yi still had to research to know the specifics. Target =_. Chapter 1948. Date, October 20th. What about your other brothers and sisters? Will they become the bargaining chip of the Sun family's interests? Lin Yi asked. I have no father or mother. If someone needs to be sacrificed, naturally, I will be the first to be sacrificed. Sun Jingyi smiled bitterly. Moreover, I am relatively powerful among the cultivators of this generation. I have cultivated to the great perfection of the first level. It is just in line with the conditions for other families to marry the Sun family, so, your parents. I heard from Sunny Kai. When Linny said this, he paused and didn't continue. This topic was just casually mentioned by Linny because of Sun Jingyi's words. But after saying it, he regretted it a little. After all, this was someone else's sad past. It was a bit abrupt for Linny to mention it. They're all gone now, it's fine, I'm used to it. Jingyi smiled bitterly. I was too young back then, I didn't even get to see my parents. The only thing I know is this little jade pendant they left me, Linny said. But I was too young back then. As Sun Jingyi said this, she took off the small jade pendant on her chest and rubbed it in her hand. It could be seen that she cherished this jade pendant very much. Pure topaz. Seeing Sun Jingyi's jade pendant, Lin Yi's eyes slightly focused. He didn't expect that the jade pendant on Sun Jingyi's chest was actually pure topaz. It was one of the materials he needed to refine the jade pendant space. Pure topaz? You know it? Sun Jingyi saw Lin Yi's excited expression and suddenly froze. Even if the material of this jade pendant was precious, it seemed that Lin Yi wouldn't be so surprised, right? Can I have a look? Asked Lin Yi. Of course. Sun Jingyi nodded and handed the jade pendant to Lin Yi. It really is pure topaz. Lin Yi looked at the pure yellow jade pendant in his hand and took a deep breath. Although he really wanted to keep it for himself, he also knew that this was the only thing Sun Jingyi's parents had left for her. Even if he needed it, he would be too embarrassed to ask Sun Jingyi for it. However, Lin Yi was still very fond of the jade pendant in front of him. You seem to like this jade pendant? Sun Jingyi saw the possessiveness in Lin Yi's eyes and was very surprised. Lin Yi did not lack money. Although this pure topaz was rare, it was not a priceless treasure. In the eyes of these big families and cultivators, it was nothing. Perhaps this pure topaz could be sold for a good price at the auction, but in the eyes of the Sun family and Old Man Sun, it was just a good accessory. These people didn't even covet it. Lin Yi nodded and didn't hide it. To tell you the truth, I need pure topaz to refine something. This pure topaz, if it wasn't something your parents left for you, I would definitely ask you for it. Ah. Sun Jingyi didn't expect Lin Yi to need pure topaz. Although she wanted to help Lin Yi, she thought that this jade pendant was the only thing left for her by her parents. If she wanted to find clues about her parents, she could only use this jade pendant. Therefore, Sun Jingyi really couldn't give it to Lin Yi. I'm sorry. I want to find news of my parents through this jade pendant one day, so, I understand, that's why I said that. Lin Yi picked up the pure topaz and prepared to return it to Sun Jingyi. Although there was still a trace of reluctance, Lin Yi could still pick it up and put it down. However, when Lin Yi just wanted to return the jade pendant to Sun Jingyi, he couldn't help but let out an sound. What's wrong? Sun Jingyi didn't understand why Lin Yi was suddenly surprised. This jade pendant. Lin Yi was in desperate need of pure topaz, so he checked it more carefully. Just when he wanted to return it to Sun Jingyi, he suddenly found that there was a very small crack on this jade pendant. If it weren't for Lin Yi's sharp eyes in the direction of the light, it would be absolutely difficult to find it. What's wrong? Sun Jingyi looked at Lin Yi's strange face and asked quickly. This jade pendant seems to be two halves put together? Lin Yi put the jade pendant in front of his eyes and carefully observed it for a long time before saying so. Put together? Sun Jingyi was slightly stunned. She quickly moved her head over and followed Lin Yi's gaze to the jade pendant. She couldn't help but exclaim because, on this jade pendant, there was indeed a small line. This line wasn't irregular, but it was straight, as if it was cut and then pasted back together. Sun Jingyi looked at the crack on the jade pendant in surprise. She even forgot her current position, and her face was close to Lin Yi's. It was a little ambiguous. It seems that it was really cut and then pieced back together, but it was done very carefully. It's not obvious. If I didn't desperately need pure topaz, I probably wouldn't be able to see it so carefully. Linny said. This crack couldn't be seen without looking at it carefully against the light. This discovery surprised Sun Jingyi. It could be said that she grew up wearing this jade pendant. Although she often played with it, she didn't find the crack on this jade pendant. In Sun Jingyi's eyes, this should be a keepsake, so she didn't think that this jade pendant was two pieces stuck together. Then, why did he do this? Could it be that this jade pendant was broken before and repaired? Sun Jingyi also looked at the jade pendant in Lin Yi's hand strangely. I don't know, but the possibility of natural damage is relatively small. Even if this jade pendant is broken, it is impossible to fall into such a neat two halves. Moreover, this crack is in the middle of the side of the jade pendant. How powerful is this to have such an effect? Lin Yi shook his head and denied Sun Jingyi's guess. So you're saying that it's man-made? Jingyi asked. It's very likely, but I don't know why it was done, Lin Yi said. But I have a speculation. What speculation? Sun Jingyi asked anxiously. It was related to the news of her parents. She was naturally very anxious. If I guess correctly, there should be something in this jade pendant, Lin Yi said. This jade pendant was cut by a superb method, and then repaired together. Maybe something was placed in this jade pendant. Ah. So there may be something left for me by my parents. Sun Jingyi listened to Lin Yi's words and suddenly became a little excited. Of course, this is just my speculation. Lin Yi smiled bitterly. Moreover, this jade pendant is broken. Obviously, it is not easy to repair. But I really don't want your pure topaz. Lin Yi's words caused Sun Jingyi to roll her eyes. Of course, I know you don't. If you explain like this, it seems like you are exposing yourself. Target equals _blank. Chapter 1949. Date, October 20th. Ugh, hee hee. Lin Yi was a little embarrassed and said, Okay, I'll return it to you. As Lin Yi spoke, he turned his head and saw Sun Jingyi's neckline. He saw a touch of spring inside. Because when Sun Jingyi took off the jade pendant, she unbuttoned a button on her shirt, so the spring inside the neckline could be easily seen. My chest is better than the jade pendant. Sun Jingyi took the jade pendant, but she saw Lin Yi's lustful gaze. However, what surprised Sun Jingyi was that she didn't feel disgusted with Lin Yi's gaze, so she couldn't help but tease. This? Lin Yi was exposed by Sun Jingyi, and he was very embarrassed. He laughed and said, They are all very good. Which one is the prettiest? Jingyi asked, not giving up. You are the best. Lin Yi smiled. He and Sun Jingyi were together. From the beginning, they had been joking all the way until now. There were no taboos, so they could let it go. That's more like it. You have good taste as a lover. Sun Jingyi snorted. You helped me crush this jade pendant. If there is really something inside, I'll give this jade pendant to you. I only want the thing inside. Jingyi, I'm just saying. You don't have to worry about it. This is something your parents left for you. How can I destroy it and ask for it? Lin Yi said sternly. Moreover, I'm just guessing. I can't say if there is anything in it. Of course, I know you are not that kind of person. I really want to know if there is a secret in it, Jingyi said. There's definitely something strange about this pendant, so I'm getting impatient myself. If there really is something in there, then it must be a clue my parents left for me. I have to get it. Looking at Sun Jingyi's determined gaze, Lin Yi knew that she wasn't just saying. She really wanted to know if there were any secrets in the jade pendant. Therefore, after pondering for a moment, Lin Yi nodded and agreed. Okay, but it's better to find a professional to handle this kind of thing. Master Guan had a friend who was an expert in jade carving. Master Guan asked him to help him. He should be able to repair it. You don't want this jade pendant? Lin Yi's reply made Sun Jingyi very surprised. This is something your parents left for you. No matter how much I want it, I can't take it for myself, right? Lin Yi said with a smile. Well, if there's something in there. If you don't have it, just fix it, Sun Jingyi said. Thank you in advance. Hearing Sun Jingyi's insistence, Lin Yi didn't refuse again. After all, he really needed this pure topaz. In Sun Jingyi's home, Lin Yi first called Guan Xuemin and asked him to give him the address of his old friend. Xuemin, naturally, told Lin Yi where his old friend lived without hesitation. He told the old friend that he had a friend who was both a teacher and a friend coming to visit, and that he needed Xuemin's help. After calling Guan Xuemin, Lin Yi called Bai Weituo. If he went to visit Guan Xuemin's old friend tonight, he might not be able to make it back to Xuexing tomorrow. He asked Bai Weituo to help him ask Boss Bai for half a day off. Bai Weituo already knew that Lin Yi had passed Boss Bai's test. So for Lin Yi's leave, Bai Weituo didn't hesitate to agree. Otherwise, without Boss Bai's permission, even if he was the class monitor, he wouldn't dare to simply agree. "Let's go, we'll visit Mr. Liu tonight," Lin Yi said to Sun Jingyi after the phone call. "All right." Jingyi was very impatient as well. She wanted to know what secrets were hidden within the pendant. So when Lin Yi called, she had already changed her clothes. "Your clothes are similar to a student's. Now you look much more compatible with me," Lin Yi said while looking at Sun Jingyi with a smile. "Yeah, to be your half-lover? You have to be more compatible, otherwise people will think that you're my sugar baby," Sun Jingyi said with a smile. "Then when can I be your complete lover?" Lin Yi asked with a smile. "Complete lover, hee, it still needs to be observed," Sun Jingyi said. With Sun Jingyi, Lin Yi had a relaxed feeling that he had never felt before. The jokes between the two were also unrestrained, and Lin Yi didn't have to deliberately avoid anything. Just like when he looked at Sun Jingyi's chest, Sun Jingyi didn't think of shyness or anger, but asked him if he looked good. The old friend was called Lu Weishan, a retired professor of Songjiang Industry University. He lived in the family area of Songjiang Industry University. Lin Yi set the navigation, started the car, and went straight to Songjiang City. When they came out from Sun Jingyi's house, it was already 6 o'clock in the evening. Both of them hadn't eaten yet. Lin Yi didn't have to eat, but Sun Jingyi was worried about the secret in the jade pendant, so she didn't have the mood to eat. The car belonged to the Supernatural Investigation Bureau, so when they got on the highway, Lin Yi drove at the speed limit. Target equals _blank. Chapter 1950. Date, October 20th. Looking at the disappearing Jeep Cherokee, the young man started to slow down. He knew he couldn't overtake it anymore. On a professional track, with the car's performance, overtaking the Jeep Cherokee shouldn't be a problem, but not here. "No, I can't catch up. How can a Jeep drive so fast? Is he crazy?" The young man frowned. He couldn't understand. Who was this person? It wasn't a professional sports car, but an off-road vehicle could reach 300 kilometers per hour. It was unbelievable. "Bro, if that person represented our family in the competition, would our family gain more benefits in the upcoming Hidden House Summit?" The young man wasn't thinking about how the Jeep could go so fast, he was thinking about the bigger picture. "Yeah. If we let this person compete, we might win." The young man's eyes lit up. "But we don't know his identity. We'll get someone to get the surveillance footage from the toll station and check the owner." The young man sighed and said, "Let's figure out his identity first. If we can work together, then that's the best. If he's related to our opponent, then our family will have an opponent at this summit, okay?" The young man nodded. Lin Yi didn't know that his driving skills were being watched as he continued to rush towards Songjiang. Sun Jingyi looked at the blurry scenery outside the car window and thought it was unbelievable. Wasn't this too fast? But she didn't feel scared. Was it because the person driving was Lin Yi? "How can you drive so fast?" Sun Jingyi was curious. "This isn't a professional sports car. Otherwise, it could be even faster," Lin Yi said. "There's nothing strange about it. I can even fly a plane. Have you seen a plane race before? You can race a plane?" Sun Jingyi realized that the Lin Yi she knew was just the tip of the iceberg. Other than being a practitioner, he seemed to know a lot of things that she didn't understand. For example, medical skills. Hee. If there's a chance, I'll bring you around and you'll know, Lin Yi said indifferently. Lin Yi took less than an hour to reach the destination that was supposed to take 2 hours. When the car entered Songjiang Industry University, it was past 7 o'clock in the evening. The car was stopped at the entrance of the family area. Lin Yi was neither a student nor a teacher here. Therefore, they didn't talk much nonsense with the guard. They parked directly in the parking space at the entrance of the family area and walked to Lu Weishan, Elder Lu's home with Sun Jingyi. He rang the doorbell. After a while, an old man's voice rang out. Who is it? Hello, Elder Lu. I'm Lin Yi. Elder Guan introduced me to you, Lin Yi said respectfully. Oh? You must be Lin Yi, please come in. With that, the electronic door opened and Lin Yi brought Sun Jingyi upstairs. Lu Weishan had already opened the door and waited for Lin Yi. Elder Lu, I'm sorry to bother you so late, Lin Yi said apologetically. Haha, don't say that. This old man has nothing to do all day long. My son and daughter-in-law have settled abroad. My godson and daughter aren't around. I have nothing to do every day. I just want to find something to do. Lu Weishan retired at home. As he said, there was nothing to do after dinner every night. Then I won't be polite. Lin Yi came in and said to Lu Weishan, My name is Lin Yi. This is my friend Sun Jingyi. I'm here to trouble Elder Lu. I heard from Elder Guan that you're looking for pure topaz, right? I've already asked my friend in the jade industry to help you inquire, but there's no news yet. Don't worry. If there's news, I'll inform Elder Guan immediately. You don't have to come in person, Lu Weishan said. Elder Lu, I'm here this time, for another matter. As Lin Yi said this, he handed Sun Jingyi's jade pendant to Lu Weishan and said, Elder Lu, look at this jade pendant. Oh? Pure topaz? Lu Weishan saw that the jade pendant in Lin Yi's hand was pure topaz at a glance. He said with some surprise, Have you found pure topaz? I found it, but this jade pendant is the only token that Sun Jingyi's parents left for her. As Lin Yi said this, he couldn't help but feel a little embarrassed. I understand. Lu Weishan smiled slightly. Then what do you want to do with this jade pendant? Elder Lu, look carefully at this jade pendant, Lin Yi said. Look carefully? Lu Weishan picked up the jade pendant and looked at it carefully against the light in the living room. But the next moment, Lu Weishan said with surprise, This jade pendant is pieced together? It's a piece of jade that was cut and then pieced together again. Elder Lu, you noticed it too? Lin Yi nodded. The piecing method is very advanced. If I don't look carefully, I really can't see it, Lu Weishan said. Little E, what do you mean by showing me this jade pendant? Elder Lu, can you cut this jade pendant again? It's best not to damage the jade pendant. I suspect that there's something hidden in it. Moreover, if there's nothing in it, it's best to piece it back together, Lin Yi said. Oh, this is not a problem. Lu Weishan nodded without thinking. Obviously, this matter was not difficult for Lu Weishan. Lin Yi and Sun Jingyi were delighted after listening to Lu Weishan's words. They didn't expect such a complicated craft to be no problem in Lu Weishan's eyes. Old man, what are you doing? There are guests in the house. Why are you still standing at the door? While talking, an old lady with a kind face came over. Obviously, she was Lu Weishan's wife. Hee, I forgot to enter the house when I was talking at the door. Old lady, you go and make some tea. These two children, follow me to my study room. I will help you remove this jade pendant now. Lu Weishan finished talking to the old lady and turned to Lin Yi and Sun Jingyi. Now? If it's troublesome, you don't have to do it today. Tomorrow is fine too, Lin Yi said. It's okay. I'm idle now anyway. Lu Weishan waved his hand and said, I still want to find something to do. Hearing Lu Weishan's insistence, Lin Yi didn't say anything else. Perhaps Lu Weishan really couldn't stay idle. Looking at his energetic appearance, Lin Yi knew that he was in good health. Lin Yi wasn't afraid that he would be too tired from working at night. In the study room, Lu Weishan sat on the workbench skillfully. He put the jade pendant under the microscope and observed the lines on it. Lin Yi and Sun Jingyi didn't dare to disturb him. They sat on the sofa and waited quietly. Target equals _blank. Chapter 1951. Date, October 20th. After a while, Lu Weishan's wife, Chu Weifang, came into the study with a cup of fragrant tea. "Two kids, have some tea. When old Lu is busy, he forgets about other things." "Thank you, Grandma." Lin Yi took the teacup and said politely. "Hee, you're welcome. I'm going out to watch TV. If you need more water, just call me. Don't be shy," Chu Weifang said. "You're busy. Don't worry about us," Lin Yi said. Chu Weifang went out. Lu Weishan was just like what she said. When he was busy, he would forget about other things. However, Lin Yi had to admit that Lu Weishan's technical level was great. The jade pendant was quickly fiddled with in Lu Weishan's hands. Lin Yi and Sun Jingyi sat quietly and waited. They didn't talk because they were afraid that their words would affect Lu Weishan. After about 2 hours, the jade pendant was cut open. However, Lu Weishan also exclaimed in surprise, "Hey, there's really something inside? There's really something inside?" Lin Yi didn't expect his and Sun Jingyi's speculation to become a fact. "Yes, this jade pendant is hollow. I have to cut it carefully. I have to cut along 4 circles to ensure that the thing inside is not destroyed," Lu Weishan said. "But it's more difficult to do so. It may not be completed in a day or 2. Don't bother," Sun Jingyi suddenly said. "Elder Lu, since there's something inside, it's fine as long as the thing inside is intact. It doesn't matter if the jade pendant outside is destroyed." Since Sun Jingyi already knew that there was something inside the jade pendant, then the jade pendant was not so important. It could be said that the jade pendant outside was only used to protect the thing inside. As long as the thing inside was taken out, then the jade pendant would be useless. Bubble. Book *. Moreover, Sun Jingyi also decided to give the jade pendant to Lin Yi. According to Lin Yi, it seemed that it didn't matter to him if the jade pendant was broken. He just wanted to use the jade pendant as a material to refine something. However, Sun Jingyi didn't ask much. "Destroy it?" Lu Weishan was slightly surprised. "If it's destroyed, it can't be restored. It doesn't matter. I just want what's inside. The jade pendant will be given to Lin Yi," Sun Jingyi said. "Lin Yi, can this jade pendant be damaged?" Lu Weishan looked at Lin Yi in surprise. "Yes," Lin Yi said. "As long as it's pure topaz, it's fine, no matter if it's whole or broken." Lin Yi was going to use it to refine the space in the jade pendant. When the time came, it would be broken, so it didn't matter if it was broken or intact. "Oh? So that's the case. That's easy. I have a few friends who used to carve pure topaz. The leftover pieces of broken jade are kept. I seem to be able to find some here. If you only want these broken pieces, then I can help you collect some." Lu Weishan listened to Guan Xuemin's words before and thought that Lin Yi wanted a whole piece of pure topaz. After all, everyone who asked for jade wanted a whole piece of pure topaz. Lu Weishan had never heard of anyone asking for broken pieces of jade. That's great. Lin Yi was suddenly surprised and happy. Sun Jingyi's pure topaz wasn't big. Lin Yi was afraid that it couldn't meet the refining conditions of the jade pendant. After all, Lin Yi had a Qigong deviation because he replaced the body-tempering medicine last time. This time, when refining the space in the jade pendant, he must be more careful. When the number of raw materials was not enough, Lin Yi wouldn't easily try. Otherwise, if the raw materials went blind, it would be a small matter. If the jade pendant space was ruined, then it wouldn't be fun. But my remaining small pieces of broken jade should be kept in the self-sealing bag in the warehouse. I can't find them today. I can only help you find them slowly, Lu Weishan said, because there are too many things in the warehouse. It doesn't matter. There's no hurry, Lin Yi said. In addition to the pure topaz, Lin Yi also needed color steel and blue crystal powder. These two things weren't gathered yet. Even if Lin Yi got the pure topaz now, it would be useless, so he wasn't in a hurry. Well, if that's the case, then I will directly break this jade pendant, Lu Weishan said. Okay. Sun Jingyi nodded. She also couldn't wait to know what was in the jade pendant. It wasn't cut according to the lines, but it was dismantled by force. As long as the things inside were intact, it would be much easier. Lu Weishan directly used the cutting knife to cut around the jade pendant a few times, and the things inside the jade pendant were exposed. Lin Yi and Sun Jingyi were staring at the jade pendant in Lu Weishan's hand without blinking. Lin Yi was also very curious about the things inside the jade pendant, so he naturally wouldn't let it go at this time. Lu Weishan chiseled a few more times, and then used a pair of tweezers to pull slightly inside the jade pendant. He pulled out a folded piece of silk. The silk was very soft and thin. It was folded into a small piece and hidden in the jade pendant. If it wasn't for Lin Yi's accidental discovery, perhaps this piece of silk would have stayed in the jade pendant for a long time. This is it. After Lu Weishan pulled out the jade pendant, he didn't open it. Instead, he directly put it on the table and said to Lin Yi and Sun Jingyi, "Thank you, Elder Lu." Lin Yi quickly thanked him. It could be seen that Lu Weishan was an upright person. He didn't seem to have any interest in the content of the jade pendant. Instead, he turned to collect the pure topaz that was cut into small pieces on the workbench. "It's nothing. It's just a piece of cake," Lu Weishan said indifferently. "Jingyi, open it and take a look," Lin Yi said. And Sun Jingyi looked at the jade pendant on the table, and she was very excited. This small piece of silk might have recorded the story of her parents, and the mystery of her life experience. Regarding her parents, Sun Jingyi had asked her grandfather many times, but her grandfather avoided talking about it. Although Sun Jingyi was curious, she also saw that her grandfather might have some difficulties, so she didn't ask again. At this time, to be able to find clues from a piece of silk, Sun Jingyi's hands were slightly trembling. Carefully picking up the jade pendant, Sun Jingyi slowly opened it. She thought that this should be a letter written to her by her parents, but what she saw was a map. Map? In Sun Jingyi's view, this jade pendant shouldn't be a letter. It should be a kind of cultivation method, but she didn't expect it to be a map. This made her have an inexplicable feeling. She wanted to ask Lin Yi's opinion, but when she turned her head, she found that Lin Yi didn't look over. Sun Jingyi knew that Lin Yi might be trying to avoid suspicion. "Lin Yi, look at this. This is a map." Sun Jingyi took the initiative to hand the silk pendant in her hand to Lin Yi and said. Since Sun Jingyi showed it to him, then Lin Yi didn't stand on ceremony. He reached out and took the silk pendant. Target equals _blank. Chapter 1952. As expected, a map came into view, but the next moment, Lin Yi's face turned into an expression of extreme shock. "This map!" Lin Yi exclaimed subconsciously. "What's wrong? Is there something wrong with this map?" Sun Jingyi asked curiously. "This map, didn't you notice? It's only half of the map, not the whole." Lin Yi pointed at the edge of the map and said to Sun Jingyi, "Eh? As expected, this map is half." Sun Jingyi looked at where Lin Yi was pointing and saw that the edge of the map wasn't finished, as if it had been cut neatly. But what shocked Lin Yi wasn't that it was half of the map, but that Lin Yi had the other half of the map in his hands. After the test, Lin Yi and Zhao Qikuan met a crazy weirdo in a cave, and he was the one who gave Lin Yi the map. The same material, the same drawing style, the same color. Lin Yi was completely sure that the half of the map in his hands was originally a whole map, and then it was cut in the middle. Lin Yi, why is your face so weird?" Sun Jingyi looked at Lin Yi and asked curiously. "It's not that my face is weird, but..." Lin Yi couldn't help but smile bitterly, hesitating. After all, the map wasn't his. It could be said that the weirdo had left it in his hands. But now, he was sure that the weirdo had some sort of connection with Sun Jingyi's parents. Could it be that Sun Jingyi's parents were the weirdo's disciples? Otherwise, why would Sun Jingyi have that half of the map? and the weirdo had said that the other half of the map was in the hands of his disciple. So, since this thing was related to Sun Jingyi, Lin Yi didn't hide it anymore and said, "Because in my hands. There's another half of the map." Ah. Sun Jingyi looked at Lin Yi in surprise. She didn't expect that Lin Yi was surprised because Lin Yi had the other half of the map in his hands. This answer left her at a loss. Lin Yi had the map? Where did his map come from? He knew my parents? I will explain this to you slowly. The map is not with me. It is in Donghu's villa, Lin Yi said. I will find it for you after I go back. Okay. Sun Jingyi felt that it was a little unbelievable. She had just found half of the map in the jade pendant, and the other half appeared in Lin Yi's hands. Wasn't this too much of a coincidence? However, when he thought about it, he was quite lucky. If this map was in the hands of someone else, it would be impossible for them to return it to him so easily. However, Lin Yi didn't seem to have any intention of keeping it for himself. Okay, it's all collected. Lu Weishan smiled and handed a self-sealing bag to Lin Yi and said, I will pay attention to the other pure topaz broken jade for you. As for this map, I won't participate, thank you, Elder Lu. Lin Yi quickly took the self-sealing bag. He said with surprise and joy, Well, it's getting late. You should go back early. I think you have more important things to do, Lu Weishan said. I won't keep you. When I find the broken jade, I will contact you again. Okay, Elder Lu, then we will leave. Lin Yi nodded and left Elder Lu's residence with Sun Jingyi. It could be seen that Sun Jingyi seemed to have a lot of words to say to him, so Lin Yi didn't do too much. After going downstairs and leaving the family area and getting in the car, Sun Jingyi couldn't wait to ask. Lin Yi, tell me, how did you get this half of the map? Do you know my parents? How can I know them? Lin Yi said with some helplessness. If I knew them, why wouldn't I tell you? This map of mine is actually not mine. It was given to me by someone else. Someone else? Sun Jingyi said. Who is that? It's a strange man like an old man. As Lin Yi said this, he told Sun Jingyi about the scene of encountering the strange man in the cave after returning from the Ice Palace trial. Then, he said, at that time, the strange man regarded me as his apprentice and gave me this map. Then, he asked me for the other half of the map and took me on a treasure hunt. You know, I didn't want to keep this thing for myself. I wanted to find a chance to return it to him, but he ran away in the middle of the night, so, the apprentice of the strange man may be my father? Sun Jingyi suddenly thought of the origin of the map on her body. It's possible, but even if it's not, it's still a big deal. Lin Yi said, but now, since you also have half of the map, I will give this map to you. Don't you want to know what treasure is in this map? Sun Jingyi looked at Lin Yi with some surprise. She didn't know why Lin Yi gave it to her so easily. Whatever treasure there is, it belongs to your father and the strange man. Since this jade pendant is with you, it's yours now. Lin Yi said with a smile. If it was someone else, I might really snatch it, but you are my lover. Of course, I won't snatch it from you. Okay, thank you. Sun Jingyi said sincerely. Actually, I don't really want that treasure. I just want to find some clues about my parents. I really don't like the current Sun family. They are too utilitarian. Everything they do is for the family's benefit. Since the strange man is a heaven stage master, then the treasure, he said, is definitely not bad. After you find it, it may be good for you. Lin Yi said. It's just that I don't know where this map is. It should be a map near a certain mountain range, but it is not marked on it. If you want to find it, it's best to compare the situation on this map with the maps of other mountains. It could be seen that Sun Jingyi couldn't wait to find the place on the map. But Lin Yi understood how she was feeling. If it were him in her shoes, he'd be rushing to look for clues as well when he suddenly received news of his parents' whereabouts. All the way back to Dongha, Lin Yi parked the car at the door of the villa and asked, Jingyi, do you want to go in and sit down? I won't go. Sun Jingyi hesitated and said, It's already past 1 o'clock in the evening. It's too late. You give me the map. I will find a hotel to stay in. Tomorrow, I will rent a house in Dongha and study this map. Target equals underscore blank. Chapter 1953. Date, October 20th. That's good. Lenny nodded. At this time, the miss and Shu should be asleep. It wasn't convenient to disturb them, so he said, "Then wait for me." Lenny got off the car and entered the mansion. As expected, the miss and Shu were asleep, but Falbert and Grandma Sun hadn't rested yet. The two of them were sitting on the sofa and chatting. Falbert seemed to be telling Grandma Sun stories from when they were young. "Little E, you're back." Falbert saw Lenny come in and was surprised. Lenny went to help Grandma Sun ask about the Sun family's mental cultivation. Falbert was naturally happy to see him back. Although Falbert didn't think that Lenny would come back on the same day, he still waited for Lenny with Grandma Sun until it was very late. Moreover, they were also talking about things from when they were young. As they chatted, they lost track of time. In the blink of an eye, it was already 1:00. "And Falbert, you guys haven't slept yet?" Lenny was a little surprised. "Not yet. How is it, little E, about Luoyin?" Although Falbert felt that it wasn't good for Lenny to ask him about these things when he just got home, he still asked because he was worried about Grandma Sunday. It's done, but there's something I need to do now. Wait for me for a while, we'll talk when I come back." Lenny smiled. "Okay." When Falbert heard that there was news, he was immediately excited and nodded repeatedly. Grandma Sun's eyes also flashed a trace of anticipation. Before, Falbert told her so many things from the past, but she couldn't remember anything. This feeling was very uncomfortable. If Lenny could help her recover her memory, it would be really great. Lenny returned to the room and found the half of the map from the cabinet in the room. Then, he quickly left the mansion and went to the car. He said to Sun Jingyi, "This is it. Take a look and see if it's one of them." Sun Jingyi excitedly took the half of the map that Lenny handed over and put it together with the half in her hand. The result was exactly the same as before. "It really is a..." Jingyi's breathing quickened as she looked at the map in her hands. Perhaps this map would be able to help them. He would be able to find clues about his parents. "Let me send you to the hotel. You can study it slowly when the time comes," Lenny said with a smile as he looked at Sun Jingyi, who was engrossed in the map. I'm sorry, I was a little anxious," Sun Jingyi quickly said. "It's nothing if it were me. It will be the same." Lenny shook his head and started the car. There was a 3-star hotel nearby called Shueshang Hotel. It was developed by the same developer as Shueshang District, and the environment was not bad. The price was not expensive. Of course, this hotel was targeted at young couples. If the price was too expensive, ordinary people would not be able to afford it. After sending Sun Jingyi to the hotel, when Sun Jingyi got off the car, she was a little hesitant. She seemed to have something to say. "What's wrong?" Lenny asked curiously. "Lenny, if I find the location of this map, can you accompany me? Can you come with me for a bit?" Jingyi knew that this request was a little too much, but she couldn't help but think about it. Lenny was the only one who could go with her. Ugh. Looking at Sun Jingyi's expectant eyes, Lenny hesitated and said, "Well, if I have nothing to do, I will accompany you. Actually, I also want to know what the treasure that the weird man said is." And great. When Sun Jingyi heard Lenny agree, she was a little excited. "If that treasure is useless to me, I will give it to you." "Oh, that's not necessary. I don't want any reward for accompanying you. I just regard you as my friend," said Lenny. "Just a friend?" Sun Jingyi squinted her eyes. "Lovers should have some substantial progress, right?" Lenny also looked at Sun Jingyi with a smile. Though, when Lenny was unprepared, Sun Jingyi quickly kissed the side of Lin Yi's face. Then her face was obviously red, but she thought that Lenny wouldn't see it because the sky was dark. She pretended to be calm and said, "Is it okay now?" Lenny didn't guard against Sun Jingyi, so she succeeded in a sneak attack. He touched the cheek that was kissed, and he suddenly felt a little dumbfounded. Is this playing with fire? It was just a joke. Now, the relationship between the two people seems to be even more unclear than before. However, Linny often joked with Sun Jingyi. At this time, after being kissed, Linny also let it go. Isn't this too little? Why don't I stay here tonight? Go to hell. Sun Jingyi was joking with Linny. At this time, when she heard that Linny was actually asking for a foot after taking an inch, her heart suddenly tightened. I am not ready yet, and he is already getting a room? So Sun Jingyi subconsciously retorted and was about to get out of the car. However, when she looked up and saw Lin Yi's evil and mischievous smile, Sun Jingyi knew that she was fooled. She snorted and said, Then you can come up. You really want me to go up? Linny asked with a smile. Let's go. I'm going to study the map. Sun Jingyi found that in front of Lin Yi, it seemed that she had never taken advantage of him. It seemed that she had taken advantage of him every time, but in fact, Lin Yi didn't take her seriously at all. Seeing that Sun Jingyi entered the hotel safely, Lin Yi turned around and left, returning to the villa. After returning, Lin Yi found that not only did Falbert and Grandma's son not sleep, but they were even more energetic, obviously waiting for Lin Yi to come back. Little E, you're back. Falbert saw that Lin Yi came back and quickly stood up, giving up the seat next to Grandma Sunday. Seeing Falbert's nervous look, Lin Yi didn't know what to say, but he also understood Falbert's mood, smiled and said, Falbert, don't worry. Let me see your Nigong first. Mine? Falbert was slightly stunned. Yes, it's yours, Lin Yi said. In fact, it was a wasted trip. After I went there, I remembered the characteristics of the Sun family's Nigong. Grandma's son was your wife, she naturally assisted you in your practice, so her true chi is the same as yours. I just need to check if your true chi is the same as the true chi in Grandma's son's head. That's right. Falbert slapped the back of his head and showed a look of realization. I'm really sorry I forgot about this. If I knew this earlier, I wouldn't have let you go back. It's not really a lot of trouble, there are some other gains. Lin Yi didn't regret looking for Sun Jingyi. Not only did he help Sun Jingyi find the map, but he also got the pure topaz. To be continued. Vote recommendation, monthly vote, etc. Target equals _blank. Chapter 1954. Date, October 20th. How was this a little gain? It could be said that it was a great gain. Of course, there were some secrets that even Falbert and Lin Yi couldn't say. About the Jade Space, Lin Yi couldn't reveal it to anyone yet. It wasn't that Lin Yi didn't trust them, but it was because Lin Yi's strength hadn't reached that level yet. If Lin Yi was a peak late-stage heaven-class master now, he wouldn't have hidden it from Falbert. Then hurry up and check! Falbert quickly reached out his hand and said, Okay. Seeing Falbert's anxious look, Lin Yi didn't say anything more and directly checked Falbert's chi. After a while, Lin Yi's face showed a satisfied look and said, There's no mistake, it's the chi in Grandma's son's head. Then, can I help her get rid of the true chi? Expelling Chapter 1966, very dejected? Falbert was surprised and happy after hearing Lin Yi's words. He was most worried that the chi in Sun Luoyue's head was caused by an enemy. If there were any malicious tricks, it would be troublesome, but now it seemed that this was unnecessary. There are two ways. One is for me to force Grandma's son's chi out of her body. Although this method is feasible, I'm not very proficient in it yet, Lin Yi said honestly. The second level of the art of dragon mastery, Lin Yi could only describe it as relatively smooth, but he was still far from being proficient in it. Lin Yi also needed a lot of effort to force out his own fire chi. Now that he was using it on Grandma's son, Lin Yi really didn't have much confidence. What about the second method? Falbert quickly asked. The second method is more certain, there won't be any danger, but the effect may be slower, it's not something that can be done overnight, Lin Yi said. That is to let Grandma's son recultivate the Sun family's internal energy cultivation method. Once Grandma's son successfully cultivates it, she will be able to dissolve the internal energy on her own. HM. Chapter 1966. Very depressing. Then let's go with the second option, Li Fu said after some hesitation, choosing the second option without hesitation. After all, this method would definitely not be dangerous. Although it was a little slow, Falbert had waited for so many years. A little more time would not make a difference. If the first method went wrong, it would be too late for regrets. Actually, I also suggest using the second method, Lenny said. I've already got the Sun family's mental cultivation method. It's in my phone. I'll forward it to you later. But although this mental cultivation method was practiced by Grandma Sun before, it's best not to spread it. After all, I got it from Sunjingi. I understand. Falbert nodded and said, even if you don't say it, I won't casually say it. After all, this involves the enemies of the past. If they know that Luoyin and I are not dead, they will definitely come to the door again. We are not opponents of those people. Lenny didn't say anything more. He sent the document sent by Sunjini to Falbert, and then went back to the room to rest. Back in the room, Lenny couldn't wait to open the jade pendant condensation method. This was the version that Lenny had copied. The original version was left in the West Star Mountain village. Now there was pure topaz, but there was no news of color steel and blue crystal powder. Before, Lenny didn't study this condensation method carefully, but now that the pure topaz was in his hands, Lenny was naturally a little excited. He began to carefully study the condensation method of the jade pendant. However, what made Lenny puzzled was that this condensation method didn't specify how much pure topaz, blue crystal powder, and color steel was needed. Without the quantity, how could Lenny collect the materials? Thinking of this, Lenny couldn't help but wonder. Jiao Lao, how many materials do you need to condense this jade pendant? As much as you have. Jiao Lao said faintly. As much as you have? What do you mean? Lenny didn't understand what Jiao Yazi meant. The more materials, the larger the condensed storage space. What's there to understand? Jiao Yazi explained faintly. Ugh. If that's the case, then can it only be condensed once? Lenny asked. No, you can condense as many times as you want. Every time you collect the materials, you can continue condensing. Lenny said. So that's how it is. Lenny was enlightened. Doesn't that mean that the storage space of this jade pendant can be condensed into an infinite size? In theory, yes. Didn't you notice that the space inside the jade pendant is actually an infinite fourth-dimensional space? Jiao Yazi said matter-of-factly. It's just that at present, these spaces can only store all-purpose energy and can't store other items. That means that the condensation of the jade pendant space actually turns a part of the jade pendant space that can only store all-purpose energy into a storage space. Lenny asked. You can understand it that way, but the four-dimensional space in the jade pendant space is theoretically infinite. Jiao Yazi said. Lenny was speechless after listening to Jiao Yazi's explanation. Previously, Lenny thought that his jade pendant was an ancient product. But as he learned more about the functions of the jade pendant, why did he feel that it was more and more high-tech? Even the four-dimensional space appeared. Of course, Lenny was too lazy to ask Jiao Yazi about these things, because Jiao Yazi didn't know. He was just a phantom. To put it bluntly, he was like a computer. There was a limit to what he knew, so it was useless to ask. After putting away the pure yellow jade, Lenny continued practicing the art of dragon mastery. Before he gathered the other two materials, Lenny couldn't make the jade space, so he could only put it aside for now. The next morning, Lenny drove Mengyao and Yushu to school, while Falbert stayed at home to train with Grandma Sunday. Lenny felt a gloomy atmosphere when he came to the dorm. Everyone seemed to be in low spirits, and by Wei-Tuo looked like he had lost a lot of money. What's wrong with you guys? Was there a break-in yesterday? Lenny looked at the three people in front of him, confused. Lin bro, you're back? Bai Wei-Tuo's eyes lit up when he saw Lenny, but then dimmed. As far as he was concerned, Lenny might be good at other things, but he wouldn't be of much help in the freshman party. Otherwise, Linny wouldn't be absent from the class rehearsals. It was obvious that he wasn't good at these things. "I'm back, what's wrong with you guys?" Linny didn't know what was going on. "Geez, Lin bro, I'm really done for this time," Baiwetua said with a sad face. "That John Duopan kid, it's just as you said, he actually played dirty. Target equals _ blank. Chapter 1955. Date, October 20th. What's wrong with him? Linny frowned. For the freshman party, he actually invited a celebrity to be the lead singer. Although it's a celebrity who just debuted, he's quite famous in the country. With the celebrity as the host, I'm afraid the student council will have to give him some face no matter what and rank their performance. Baiwetua said dejectedly. A celebrity came to our school's freshman party. If we don't rank them, it'll be too disrespectful, so what if he's a celebrity? Even if he doesn't sing well, he can still get a rank? Linny wasn't too interested in celebrities and said disapprovingly. Su Shirhan was nothing in front of him. In Linny's eyes, she was just a pretty girl who could sing and dance. She wasn't even as attractive as Miss and Shu, let alone a celebrity who wasn't that famous. Let's not talk about the fact that John Duopan's class is singing the celebrity's famous song. They already have an advantage. It's just the student council, they won't defend a celebrity over such a small matter. Baiwetua had been in the school for a long time, so he knew the logic behind this. The student council sometimes organizes some charity events and invites some celebrities. They're all trying to get close to those celebrities, so why wouldn't they give them some face? Jean Duopan must have a master guiding him from behind, that's why he came up with such a trick. Let's not talk about how my singing is just SOSO. Even if I sing well, I'm still no match for a celebrity. Oh, so you're saying that as long as it's a celebrity, they can get a rank? Linny understood what Baiwetua meant. Of course. Of course, it can't be too bad, Baiwetua said. Forget about those celebrities who are famous for disgusting people. Then why don't we invite a celebrity too? Linny said. I say, brother. It's not that easy to invite a celebrity. Jean Duopan is a rich second generation. His family has a lot of money, his dad is a big boss, and his social connections are great. It's not a big deal to find a celebrity, but Baiwetua shook his head. We might not be able to invite one even with money. Oh, leave it to me. I'll try. Linny thought for a moment and asked. If we invite a celebrity who is more famous than Jean Duopan, will our ranking be higher? That's for sure. When the time comes, all the members of the student union will be in charge of voting and scoring. Although there is a celebrity effect, whoever is popular will have the highest number of votes, Baiwetua said. I understand. Linny nodded. Boss, are you really going to invite a celebrity? Baiwetua looked at Linny in surprise. He didn't expect Linny to invite him just like that. He had a matter-of-fact look on his face, as if it was easy to invite a celebrity. Are you ready to give up on Himewa? Linny asked. Of course not. Baiwetua shook his head and replied without thinking. That's it. If I don't invite you, you lose, right? Linny said. Can you really invite him? Baiwetua looked at Linny doubtfully. I don't know. I'll make a call and ask. Linny said. Ugh. Baiwetua heard Linny say he'll make a call and was a bit discouraged. The celebrity Jean Duopan invited is the coffee girl, Qingyi. Although she just became famous recently, I heard that she's Su Shirhan's junior martial sister. With Su Shirhan's help, I'm afraid he'll be able to overshadow her. It's a bit difficult. Plus, Himeyua's idol is Su Shirhan. Naturally, she likes Qingyi as well. This time, Jean Duopan is obviously trying to please Himewa. Sigh. Oh, a junior martial sister from the same sect. Then just invite Su Shirhan. She won't be able to say anything. Linny heard Baiwetua's words and let out a sigh of relief. If it was Su Shirhan's junior martial sister, it would be even more impossible to overshadow Su Shirhan. Ah? Invite Su Shirhan? Baiwetua's eyes widened. Lin bro, you're not joking, right? Su Shirhan, she hasn't even held a concert in Donghi. How can she come to our school's freshman party? I don't know. Let's ask. Linny took out his phone. He started rummaging through the phone book. Bai Weituo, Zhao Xingji, and Song Xiaodao looked at Linny in disbelief. They couldn't understand. How did Linny know Su Shirhan? Or did he know other friends who knew Su Shirhan? The call went through. Su Shirhan didn't pick up for a long time. The number you have dialed is currently unavailable. Linny shook his head and hung up. Lin bro, how was it? Bai Weituo didn't have much hope, but he still couldn't help but ask. No one picked up. Linny said. Bai Weituo didn't think that Linny could find Su Shirhan. So he wasn't surprised when Linny said no one picked up. If anyone could get through a superstar's phone, they wouldn't be a superstar. It's okay. If it really doesn't work, I'll give up. There are plenty of fish in the sea. Looking at Bai Weituo's face, Linny shook his head. Forget it. I'll try again. Then, Linny picked up his phone again. He was about to call again. However, Lin Yi's phone rang first. Looking at the caller ID, Lin Yi smiled and picked up. Lin Yi, you're looking for me? Su Shirhan's sweet voice came from the other side. I was busy just now. The phone is with Wang Sis. Wang Sis told me that you called me, so I called immediately. Oh, I was about to call you again. Lin Yi said faintly. Su Shirhan's enthusiasm was exchanged with a few indifferent words from Lin Yi. She was a superstar. What she said just now was to take credit from Lin Yi. If it was someone else, Su Shirhan wouldn't even bother to call back. But Lin Yi didn't seem to be flattered at all. But thinking about every time she went to his house, Lin Yi basically just greeted her and went back to his room. He didn't say anything. This made Su Shirhan feel that her charm had decreased every time she saw Lin Yi. What's the matter? Su Shirhan said helplessly. Do you have time recently? Come and help me, Lin Yi said. Help? Sure. Even if I don't have time, you can find me. Su Shirhan was very grateful to Lin Yi. It was him who cured her headache. It was also him who saw through Yao Wang's plot. Otherwise, if she really took Yao Wang's medicine, the consequences would be unimaginable. Oh, there's a freshman party in our school. Come over and bring our classmates to perform. That's it, Lin Yi said. To be continued. Recommendation votes, monthly votes. Target equals _blank. Chapter 1956. Date, October 20th. Freshman party? Performance? Su Shirhan was speechless. What did Lin Yi find for her? She was a top star in Asia, yet she was attending a freshman party. However, since Lin Yi invited her, she couldn't refuse. She said, I've rejected all the other people who asked me to hold a concert, but I promise you that I will attend the freshman party. Ha, thank you, Lin Yi said. No need to thank me. Who told you to cure my headache? I should be the one thanking you, Su Shirhan said. When is it? Wait, let me ask, Lin Yi said and turned to Bai Weituo. When is the freshman party? The night after tomorrow, Bai Weituo said subconsciously. The night after tomorrow, Lin Yi said to Su Shirhan. Where are you? Songzhan? Su Shirhan remembered the time and asked. No, I'm at Donghai Industry University, Lin Yi said. I understand. I'll go there tomorrow. Can you pick me up at the airport? Su Shirhan asked. Okay, I'll pick you up. Lin Yi didn't mind being a chauffeur since he needed someone to do something for him. Su Shirhan was attending the event on her own, so the organizer wouldn't prepare a car. Then I'll see you tomorrow, Su Shirhan said. However, as soon as Su Shirhan finished speaking, Wang Sis' voice came from the other side. Han, didn't we agree to shoot the cover of the new album tomorrow? Oh, I'll do it in a few days, Su Shirhan said carelessly. What's up? Lin Yi asked. Nothing, I dropped it, Su Shirhan said. Huh. Then I'm really flattered. You have quite a lot of face, Linny joked. You finally know how big your face is. I thought you didn't know. Su Shirhan snorted and hung up the phone. Linny shook his head helplessly, but when he raised his head, he saw the three guys in the dormitory looking at him in disbelief. Big brother Lin, you really know Su Shirhan? Bai Weituo asked in disbelief. Yes, she agreed. Linny nodded. It can't be? Bai Weituo pinched his face hard. Am I dreaming? Big brother Lin, you're too awesome. It feels so good to turn defeat into victory. Bai Weituo didn't doubt the authenticity of Lin Yi's call at all, because in his eyes, there was no need for Lin Yi to lie to him. Calling Su Shirhan meant calling Su Shirhan. But Bai Weituo was a little surprised. Lin Yi even knew Su Shirhan, and he seemed to be quite familiar with her. Hee, shouldn't we go to class? Lin Yi said. It's no problem for me to ask for leave, but if you don't go to class, I'm afraid Boss Bai won't let you go easily, right? Damn class? Bai Weituo looked at his watch and quickly put on his coat and ran out of the dorm. When he came to the classroom, Lin Yi saw Han Jingjing sitting next to Wang Xinyan. She was whispering something to Xinyan, which made Lin Yi frown. He'd gotten used to sitting at the same table with Xinyan these past couple of days, and Han Jingjing was taking his seat. He wasn't used to it. However, when Han Jingjing saw Lin Yi, she stood up and sat behind him, giving the seat to Lin Yi. This made Lin Yi a little surprised. Seeing Han Jingjing's action, Wang Xinyan blushed. This was too obvious. Anyone could see that her relationship with Lin Yi wasn't normal. Otherwise, in a class, there would only be two girls together. Lin Yi didn't care so much and directly sat next to Wang Xinyan. You've recovered from your cold? And it's much better. Wang Xinyan thought of the ambiguous scene in the car yesterday, and her face became even redder. Big brother Lin Yi, didn't you ask for leave today? Why are you here again? If I knew you would come to school today, I would have hitchhiked with you. Han Jingjing sat behind Lin Yi and said to Lin Yi. How did she know he asked for leave? But thinking of yesterday, he told Bai Weituo that he might not come today and asked him to ask for leave on his behalf. It should be from Bai Weituo yesterday, or Wang Xinyan told her yesterday afternoon. Don't you have your own car? Lin Yi asked back. Didn't you already know the classroom? Why do you still hitchhike? Aren't we saving energy and reducing emissions now? People don't drive, sitting in your car can protect the environment. Han Jingjing said matter-of-factly. It's more environmentally friendly to walk, Lin Yi said with some speechlessness. There's a hitchhiker, why do I walk? Isn't that stupid? Han Jingjing asked with a surprised face. Lin Yi was speechless about Han Jingjing's IQ. This girl wouldn't have 100,000 whys, right? She was always saying why and whys, but it seemed like she was very reasonable, so Lin Yi didn't know how to answer. If I buy a car and let you hitchhike, isn't that stupid? Why? You don't have to spend a penny more for gas. It's on the way anyway. Han Jingjing looked at Lin Yi strangely. But why should I give you a ride? According to what you said, can I live in your villa? Lin Yi had a headache because of Han Jingjing's thinking. Because we are neighbors and classmates. Do you want to live in my villa? Okay, I'll help you clean up a room at night. It just so happens that my brother and I are scared, Han Jingjing said. Okay, you can continue to hitchhiker, forget about cleaning up the room. Lin Yi was defeated. This girl's thinking was too weird. Lin Yi felt that if he continued to argue with her, it would only become more and more troublesome. He might even become crazy. Wang Xinyan saw Lin Yi being defeated and couldn't help but cover her mouth and laugh. This Han Jingjing was really interesting, and the questions she asked were so cute. Han Jingjing's mouth flashed a trace of a successful smile, and Lin Yi didn't say anything because Boss Bai had arrived. Just as Boss Bai said, most of the courses in the medical profession were taught by him part-time. Lin Yi's medical skills, under the training of old Lin since he was young, was already at the top level, but unexpectedly, some of Boss Bai's theories gave Lin Yi a refreshing feeling. It was clearly some of the most basic pharmacology knowledge, but it gave Lin Yi a lot of inspiration. Lin Yi glanced at Tiger right, noticing that the two followers beside him were doing nothing, while Tiger Right, on the other hand, was focused on Boss Bai's explanation. This discovery also proved that Boss Bai was extraordinary. To be continued. Cast recommendation votes, monthly votes, etc. Target equals _blank. Chapter 1957. Date, October 20th. The hidden house. You could be said to be a medical family, and the fact that the children of the house you could listen to Boss Bai's class so attentively, especially someone as arrogant as Yu Panhu. This made Lin Yi feel that Boss Bai was not a normal person. In a small town near Donghe, in a luxurious manner, two brothers were sitting in front of a computer in the study, replaying the video footage over and over again. These two brothers were the two Ferrari drivers that Lin Yi met on his way to Songjiang. "Brother, is there still no news? It's taking so long to find out who the license plate belongs to. Uncle Han Jio's information network isn't too good." The one who spoke was the younger brother in the Ferrari, Han Xiaoling, and the one driving the Ferrari was the older brother, Han Xiaopa. "Uncle Han Jio has always been in charge of our hidden house of Han's information network, but there's still no news. It's not that his network isn't good, it's that the owner of the car isn't a normal person." Han Xiaopa was one of the successors of the hidden house of Han, so he had a clearer view of things. He immediately noticed the problem. Brother, then if the owner isn't a normal person, will he still help us participate in the race?" Han Xiaoling asked. "I don't know, but we need to see which power he belongs to first. If he isn't from a hidden house, then as long as we bring out enough benefits and sincerity, there shouldn't be a problem," Han Xiaopa said. "Oh." Han Xiaoling was Han Xiaopa's biological brother, so he was very close to Han Xiaopa in the hidden house of Han. The hidden house of Han was a hidden house that kept a very low profile. The hidden house of Han started out 10 years ago, and the head of the house of Han was originally a lone practitioner, and his strength was only at the early phase of the mystic class. However, 15 years ago, the head of the house of Han found an ancient ruin and obtained a golden pill. After swallowing it, his strength soared from the early phase of the mystic class all the way to the early phase of the earth class. Along with the treasures from the ancient ruin, the old man of the house of Han, a lone practitioner, successfully became a member of the hidden house. However, the hidden house Han's foundation was still too shallow. Other than old man Han, who was an earth class early phase master, the second generation of the family was at most mystic class, and the third generation was pitifully golden class. If it wasn't for the fact that they had obtained the treasures from the ancient ruins and that the Han family had come at a good time, they wouldn't have been able to survive. The Hidden House Arbitration Association had just been established, and this series of events had allowed the Han family to become a member of the Hidden House by chance. However, Old Man Han understood that his family's foundation was too shallow. If an old hidden family obtained the treasures from the ancient ruins, then not only would they not have to worry, they might even become an ancient family. Because even if they didn't have a heaven-class expert, they would still have a peak late-phase Earth-class expert overseeing them. According to the agreement between the ancient sects and ancient families, heaven-class experts couldn't casually make a move. Therefore, Earth-class late-phase peak could basically sit back and relax. But the Han family was different. A man's wealth was his own ruin. The Han family had been developing in a low profile these past few years. The Ice Palace trials, the Hidden House Arbitration Association's Elder Council, those were things they wouldn't participate in. The only thing they wanted to do was rest and slowly increase the family's strength. Once the family had a peak late-phase Earth-class expert, or even a Heaven-class expert, that would be the day the Han family would soar. Of course, with the restrictions of the Hidden House Arbitration Association, the other houses hadn't done anything to the Han family. But recently, Old Man Han had heard some bad news. The Grand Elder of the Hidden House Arbitration Association had disappeared. The other hidden houses had started to stir as well. Although they didn't have any intentions of making a move against the Hidden House Han, they had made some strange suggestions and requests. That was, to hold a few competitions during the Hidden House Summit. The events of the competition were also different. There were martial arts competitions, art competitions, endurance competitions, strength competitions, and even racing competitions. In every round of the competition, every hidden house would take out a treasure as a wager. Anyone with a discerning eye could tell that this competition was aimed at the weak house of Han. This was because the hidden house of Han was too weak. They were so weak that they couldn't even win a single battle. However, these battles covered a wide range of areas and seemed to be fair. So even if the hidden house of Han knew that the hidden houses couldn't sit still anymore and wanted to covet the hidden house of Han's treasures, they couldn't refuse. Refusing to participate in the Hidden House Summit was the same as giving up their right to be a hidden house. Without the protection of the Hidden House title, even the Hidden House Arbitration Association wouldn't care about the life and death of the hidden house. At that time, the hidden houses would definitely make a move on the hidden house Han. But this was a dead end. They knew that there would be losses, and they would definitely have to take out some treasures. But under these circumstances, the hidden house Han could only pinch their noses and accept it. Who asked them to be weak? When he saw Lin Yi's driving skills by chance, Han Xiaopa had the mentality of trying to save a dead horse. If they could win one race, even if it was just one, it would be a victory for the House Han. It was better than losing all the competitions. Even if the House Han had to pay a certain price, it didn't matter. After all, this was related to the hidden House Han's reputation. As he spoke, Han Xiaopa's phone rang. Seeing the familiar name, Han Xiaopa relaxed a little. Finally, there was news. Ninth Uncle. Han Xiaopa answered the phone respectfully. Ninth Uncle Han wasn't a direct relative of the Han family, but he was one of his grandfather's followers. The ancient ruins were discovered by him and his grandfather. However, Ninth Uncle Han was about the same age as Han Xiaopa's father, so he was considered an uncle. Master P, we've investigated the ownership of the car, but we can't get the owner's information, Ninth Uncle Han said. What? No information on the owner? Han Xiaopa was slightly taken aback. The car belongs to the Supernatural Investigation Bureau. Our information channels aren't strong enough to find a secret of this level. If we ask for help, we might not be able to find someone who knows the Supernatural Investigation Bureau. Even if they do, we might not be able to find them, Ninth Uncle Han said. The Supernatural Investigation Bureau. No wonder. I heard that there are many capable people there. Han Xiaopa suddenly understood. Although the practitioners of the Supernatural Investigation Bureau weren't as powerful as the hidden houses, they were far superior in other aspects. This was because they had many all-round talents. Not to mention his superb driving skills, it was easy for him to do stunts with an airplane. RG, target equals, _blank. Chapter 1958. However, according to the information we received from our people, we found that the car was heading towards East Ocean City from the surveillance cameras of several nearby highways. Book C Pavilion Ninth Uncle said. According to our informants in East Ocean City, the car is currently parked at East Ocean Industry University. Ah. Ninth Uncle, you really scared me to death. I thought we wouldn't be able to find anything. I didn't expect you to have already found out. Han Xiaopa was very happy when he heard Ninth Uncle Han's words. Young Master P, what I said earlier was just to point out this person's background. Ninth Uncle Han's voice was still calm. Han Xiaopa was stunned for a moment, but he immediately understood what Ninth Uncle Han meant. If Ninth Uncle Han didn't say it in such detail and directly told him where the person was, Han Xiaopa would have gone to look for him. If he had been the slightest bit negligent, the negotiation would have definitely failed. Thinking of this, Han Xiaopa couldn't help but feel grateful. According to the school's security registration, the car owner is a student at East Ocean Industry University. The rest is still under investigation. Ninth Uncle Han paused for a moment. It seemed that he also thought it was strange that a student from the Supernatural Investigation Bureau would be a student. A student? Han Xiaopa was stunned. How could a student be from the Supernatural Investigation Bureau? I'm not sure yet, but I have reported this to the head of the family. Perhaps the head of the family will call for a family meeting soon. Young Master Pa, please be prepared. Book C Pavilion. Ninth Uncle Han said. Thank you so much, Ninth Uncle. Han Xiaopa couldn't help but feel touched after hearing Ninth Uncle Han's words. The family meeting was a good opportunity to show one's face in public. As long as one made reasonable suggestions during the family meeting, one would be valued by his grandfather. Although the heir to the head of the family hadn't been appointed yet, Ninth Uncle Han obviously thought highly of Han Xiaopa. In Han Xiaopa's generation, the only one who could compete with him was his second uncle's son, Han Xiaochun. However, although Han Xiaochun was capable, he was narrow-minded and always went against Han Xiaopa. Ninth Uncle Han didn't like his personality. As expected, half an hour later, Han Xiaopa received a notice from the family members that a family meeting would be held in the assembly hall. In Han Xiaopa's generation, only he and Han Xiaochun had the right to participate in the family meeting. Both of them were being groomed as successors to the family. Han Xiaopa quickly arrived at the conference room, but Han Xiaochun arrived first. Old Master Han, the second-generation members of the Han family, and Ninth Uncle Han were all present. Han Xiaopa was the last to arrive. It seemed that the disciple who had called for the meeting was probably someone from Han Xiaochun's side, and had deliberately made Han Xiaopa look bad. I'm sorry, Grandpa. I'm late. Han Xiaopa looked at the people in the conference room and apologized. All right, sit down. Grandfather Han wasn't an idiot. He knew that Han Xiaopa wouldn't be late on purpose. He knew what was going on, but he couldn't be bothered to point it out. Yes, Grandpa. Han Xiaopa nodded and sat on his seat. Han Xiaochun's eyes flashed with disappointment. Han Xiaopa's lateness didn't incur his grandpa's wrath. This made Han Xiaochun's efforts a little wasted. Xiaopa, I heard from your ninth Uncle Han that you found a racer with superb driving skills. You want him to represent the Hidden Han family in the upcoming Hidden Family Summit. Is that true? Grandfather Han waited for Han Xiaopa to sit down and then asked. Yes, Grandpa. Han Xiaopa nodded and told him about the Jeep Cherokee he saw on the highway. He then added, Grandpa, I think that if it's possible, we should invite this person to represent us in the race no matter what. Otherwise, I'm afraid our Hidden Han family won't be able to win in the end. This concerns our Hidden Han family's reputation. Not bad. Old Man Han nodded in praise. Little Pa didn't go out for nothing this time, always thinking about the family's interests. That's what everyone in the Hidden Han family should learn. Our Hidden Han family originally didn't have any hope in this Hidden Family Summit, but if Little Pa can invite this person, then we'll be able to save some face for our Han family. We won't lose so miserably. Old Nine, have you investigated this person's background? Tell us, and we'll see how we can invite him. Yes. Ninth Uncle Han nodded and told everyone the results of his investigation. Xiaopa, what do you think? You were the one who suggested this idea. What do you think we should pay to invite this person to race for us? Grandfather Han looked at Han Xiaopa and asked. Grandpa, since this person is from the Supernatural Investigation Bureau, then I don't think he'll be interested in ordinary benefits. I think that as long as we can invite this person, even if we have to give him all the treasures after winning, it'll be worth it. Han Xiaopa said. Big brother, are you stupid? Treasures after winning? That's not just our Han family's treasures. Every participating family will put up a treasure as a bet. When the time comes, he'll get the treasures of all the families. Don't you think that's a bit too generous? Han Xiaochun didn't wait for Han Xiaopa to finish and retorted coldly. Or are you colluding with outsiders to embezzle the Han family's benefits? I embezzle the Han family's benefits. Han Xiaopa looked at Han Xiaochun with a smile that wasn't a smile. You know, if we don't invite him, we'll definitely lose the race. With our family's resources, it's not even enough for him to look at. He's just a student. Even if he's related to the Supernatural Investigation Bureau, we, the Hidden Han family, are asking him for help because we think highly of him. When the time comes, we'll just give them any of our family's treasures. Won't he obediently help? Han Xiaochun snorted coldly and said, Although our hidden Han family isn't one of the top families among the hidden families, if we say something, even the Supernatural Investigation Bureau will have to give us face. Xiaochun is right about this. If we give him all the treasures, then our Han family will really be at a loss. Giving him one treasure is already very impressive. Grandfather Han nodded, agreeing with Han Xiaochun. Grandpa, if he doesn't show his sincerity, I can't promise to invite him. Han Xiaopa sighed. He didn't know why, but Han Xiaopa just felt that the person driving the Jeep Cherokee wasn't someone who was easy to talk to. He wasn't someone who could be invited easily. Big brother, if you think your ability is limited, then leave this to me. I'll invite him, and I guarantee it'll be done. Han Xiaochun patted his chest and promised. Target equals _blank. Chapter 1959. Oh? Grandfather Han turned to look at Han Xiaochun and asked. Book Ocean Pavilion Net. Han Xiaochun laughed coldly. When the time comes, we'll bring a mystic late-phase peak master. That'll scare him to death. Even if we don't give him any benefits, he'll still come and help. Threats and promises are fine, carrot and stick. Since Xiaochun said so, then we'll leave this to him. Grandpa Han said faintly. Han Xiaopa opened his mouth but gave up in the end. No matter how he looked at it, he didn't think that the other party was that simple. Since Han Xiaochun had a way, then let him do it. He wouldn't get involved. Yes. Grandpa, don't worry, I'll do it well. Han Xiaochun turned to look at Ninth Uncle Han and asked. Ninth Uncle, did you find out the person's name? There's no news yet. Our family also has a branch family studying at Donghai Industry University. I've already asked them to find out who the owner of the Jeep Cherokee is. Ninth Uncle Han said. We should have news soon. As he spoke, Uncle Hanjio's phone rang. Uncle Hanjio picked up the phone and said a few words. Then, his expression changed and became extremely strange. After a while, Ninth Uncle Han said, Okay, I got it. You guys continue the investigation. Ninth, how is it? Is there news? Grandpa Han couldn't help but ask when he saw the strange expression on Ninth Uncle Han's face. Book Ocean Pavilion Net. Yes, Master, there's news. Ninth Uncle Han nodded and said, This student is called Lin Yi. He's a new medical student at Donghai Industry University. Oh, Lin Yi, a new student. I got it. Han Xiaochun nodded and said, I'll go find him in a bit. Young Master Chun, this person's name is Lin Yi. Ninth Uncle Han repeated the name and emphasized it. Lin Yi, Lin Yi. That Lin Yi? Han Xiaochun's heart skipped a beat. He thought of an existence that was taboo in the various hidden families. The hidden House Yu, and House Zhao wanted to cause trouble for him, but all of them returned empty-handed. Not only did they fail to do anything to Lin Yi, but all of their masters died. Could it be that this Lin Yi was that Lin Yi? Thinking up to here, Han Xiaochun's face changed, and he cried bitterly in his heart. Just now, he had sworn that he would threaten and bribe them, bringing a mystic-class late-phase peak master to threaten them. What a joke! One had to know that even an Earth-class late-phase master was killed by Lin Yi, let alone a peak mystic late-phase master. Bringing a mystic late-phase peak to cause trouble was asking for death. Young Master Chun, although I haven't found out if these two Lin Yis are the same person, whether it's House Yu, or House Zhao, they all kept quiet and didn't reveal too much information about Lin Yi, so I can't be sure yet. Ninth Uncle Han said with a normal face, but he was laughing coldly in his heart. Don't you love to be in the limelight? Why are you stunned now? This? Han Xiaochun thought of Lin Yi's lightning-fast killing methods, and his heart went cold. In the eyes of these hidden house disciples, Lin Yi was no different from a demon king. He was terrifying to the extreme. He was going to talk terms with Lin Yi, but if he didn't succeed and got killed right away, then he'd die for nothing. No one from the hidden house would dare to stand up for him. The hidden House Yu, House Zhao, and House Yu all suffered in silence, let alone the hidden House Han. Brother, you already know this person's information. When are you going to go look for him? Han Xiaopa was amused as well. Where was that arrogance from before? He was dumbfounded when he heard the name. This? Big brother, my abilities are limited. You should go. After all, you were the one who found this person, so it's more reasonable for you to go. Han Xiaochun didn't dare to go anymore. Unless he didn't want to live anymore, daring to talk terms with a violent maniac like Lin Yi, wasn't that looking for death? Old Han's face turned red and white as well. This was a slap in the face. However, he didn't have the slightest intention of getting angry. If this Lin Yi was the same Lin Yi, sending Han Xiaochun to look for him without knowing was the same as asking the Hidden House Han to die. There was a Hidden House Arbitration Association to mediate between the hidden houses, but when it came to the common world, Lin Yi didn't have much to say. If Lin Yi wanted to destroy the Hidden House Han, then it wouldn't be a difficult task. When that time comes, thinking of this, old Han broke out in a cold sweat and said to Han Xiaopa, Xiaopa still has foresight. We didn't act impulsively, or else if we really did as Xiaochun said, the consequences would be unthinkable. Xiaochun is still not mature enough. Han Xiaochun was very displeased. You clearly agreed with my suggestion just now, and even told me to go with the carrot and the stick, but now you're saying that I'm not mature enough. This made him very depressed. But he didn't dare to refute, because if he did, wouldn't he make his grandfather lose face? So he could only endure it helplessly. Yes, you're right, grandfather, Han Xiaochun said gloomily. Xiaopa, you should go talk to Lin Yi about this. No matter what, even if he wants more, we have to rope him in. As long as he can become a friend of our hidden house Han, the other hidden houses will have to think about their own strength if they want to touch us. Old Han was looking further ahead. Although he was snobbish, he was extremely cunning. Otherwise, the hidden house Han would still be in decline for so many years. Old Han still had some tricks up his sleeve. If it wasn't for the fact that he had told the children of the family to keep a low profile and not go out to cause trouble or earn money, those hidden families would have found an excuse to deal with the hidden house of Han. But old man Han would rather sit back and enjoy his wealth than be caught red-handed. That was where he was smart. So, he saw hope in Lin Yi. Although Lin Yi was a star of misfortune and had a grudge with many hidden houses, being close to Lin Yi would mean offending House Yu, House Zhao, and House Yu, but that wasn't the case. Even without the relationship with Lin Yi, these houses would still harbor evil intentions towards the hidden house Han. If they wanted to deal with the hidden house Han, then they might as well build a good relationship with Lin Yi. With Lin Yi blocking them, perhaps House Han would have more time to breathe. What old Han could see clearly, the other members of House Han could see clearly as well. They all nodded. Old Han was right. If they could get Lin Yi's support, at least in the short term, House Han wouldn't be in any danger. Plus, during the Hidden House Summit, Lin Yi might even be able to win other competitions, and that would give House Han even more face. Target equals _blank. You're tuning into the Phoenix Knights YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.